across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, very good afternoon to you. It's a bank holiday Monday and we're here. Mike Graham in the morning, Jeremy Kyle at Drive thinking, do you know what? It doesn't matter it's a bank holiday. There's still stuff to moan about. First up, I should tell you, this is very important. A big congratulations and well done to my son Henry, who passed all his GCSEs on Thursday. So that was amazing and he's doing brilliantly. And congrats to many people who did really well. But that was a massive, massive moment. So if you went through the same as a parent, I hope it went well. So they're in. Ryan. Great story about Ryan coming up, ladies and gentlemen. Ryan is 6'7". He's got size 14 feet, and I'll be telling you later how he had to run away from a man trying to chat him up on Saturday night in a beer place, a pub. That's what you're calling it. Jody, a pub. That's it. Jody's in, dedicated, celebrating Everton's first ever victory, of course, at their brand new stadium on Saturday or even Sunday. She's here. 0344 499 1000. The usual telephone number. You can send that WhatsApp message. You can do a voice note. Simple. 0344 499 1000. And Big Dave. When I say big, it's just a rumour. It's not, you know what I'm saying. He's on the buttons, Big Dave. Honestly, did his hair, forgot to bring it. Any gaps, just phone up and complain about Dave. Who's on buttons? Johnna's in the house. I don't know why I did that. It's bank holiday. We're feeling sprightly. As I said, listen, we'll talk about how the public has no trust in Keir Starmer's handling of migration. Well, I don't think anybody has any trust, to be honest. I think we'll get your reaction to the fact that foreign criminals are going to be entering asylum hotels as well. Just another kick in the bits if you're an English person who's been doing the wrong things. How sex crimes by foreign nationals surge. All of this was in the Casey report. This isn't us being far right or whatever, or all those people that say this is outrageous. I read something at the weekend. Do you know what this bloke said? He was from Brighton. He said, and I quote, "It is a stain on the United Kingdom that people are talking about letting these poor people return to the terrible situations they find themselves in. Go back to your tent in France. Not as nice as your hotel. I don't see how that's unfair." I will say, as I have said every single day on this show, legal migration has worked for years and has benefited all parts of the world. Illegal migration is destroying the very fabric of this country, is being grabbed by people I don't want to be associated with. I agree with Jodie on that, but it's also something that's factual, and we need to do something about it. 0344 499 1000. So you can talk about that, or you can talk about the three things that Ryan, Jodie and I want to try and get through the next 3 hours on. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you, this is absolutely brilliant, Angela Rayner. What have you been doing this week? I've been in Ethiopia. You haven't, have you? Ethiopia. Angela Rayner's allies have been forced to defend her purchase of an £800,000 seafront home against accusations that it was hypocritical. Mike Graham this morning finally, genius, labelled her the Minister for Housing herself. And nobody else. This is a woman who wants to build 1.5 million houses. This is a woman who fronted the campaign that said all those toffs from London that buy second homes by the sea, and I live by the sea, by the way, they're a disgrace. She's now got 3 homes. Angela Rayner, Ethiopia. Angela Rayner, the Minister for Housing herself. What do you make of our Ange? 0344 499 1000. Gen Z. They find that working from home is quite depressing. And actually, all of a sudden, the thought of going back to work and actually having to do a shift might be more attractive. Remote working, once a Gen Z favourite, is leaving many feeling isolated. A Bupa survey reveals nearly 40% of 16 to 24-year-olds feel socially disconnected due to the nature of their jobs and the fact they haven't mixed with anybody or have any social skills. Go back to work. I've never understood. I understand the economics of it, but I've never understood how anybody thinks working from home is good for you if you're lonely or... look, that's the only reason Dave comes to work. He's got no friends. Oh, Dave on the buttons, he comes to work, he sees Ryan and Jodie and me, and suddenly he's a different person when he sits at home in his tracksuit. Miserable git. 0344 499 1000. What do you make of that story? And my favourite, ladies and gentlemen, a Ministry of Defence worker at NATO headquarters is suing them for harassment after he wasn't given a good luck card when leaving his jobs. Jane Isles, or James even, was upset not to have his time on the base formally marked. the Employment Tribunal heard. The accommodation store manager claimed he'd been targeted because of his disabilities. It has made him even more depressed, anxious and paranoid. He said another person was given a car by a colleague. He wasn't the only one, but he felt like he wasn't recognised. That is what we've come to. We've come to, I didn't get a leaving card. I'm so sorry, I feel depressed. I can't work at home on my own. I've got no friends. I want to go to work. And I'm going to buy my third home in Hove. And last week I went on a trip to Ethiopia. It's 4:07. A very good afternoon to you. This is Talk Drive. My name's Jeremy Carl, but you can call me anything you want as long as you ring and show some involvement. 0344 499 1000. We're going to say a very good afternoon straight away to a man who, I mean, to be fair, there's swimming against the tide and believing that you're right, and he's probably an arch exponent of this theory. Shadow Home Office Minister. Well, he's a minister for everything. I mean, oh, hold on a second. Matt Vickers, Conservative Stockton West, you've got a flag flying, you disgraceful human being. What's going on?
It's actually home decor now. This, you've got to have one at home as well as in the office, I think, to for when I get to speak to you fine people. But it's bank holiday, Jeremy. I've been down to IKEA with my mum and dad, took them shopping. She's furious.
Who is?
We were going around. I said, I've got to go. She said, we're going to get one of those hot dogs. I said, you haven't got time. The queue's too long. I need to go and speak to Jeremy. So my mum's Mr. Hot Dog. She's fuming with you. Absolutely fuming.
I don't want to make any jokes about your mother and a hot dog. Jodie tells me that you're looking quite svelte for an MP on a bank holiday. The shirt's unbuttoned. You've got a bit of a tan there, bit of stubble. You look like sort of out of work Hollywood sex actor, don't you? What's going on?
It's sunny in Stockton. You go out on them doorsteps, you top up your tan. Come on up. It's great. It's
good man. Let's just see how many times in 10 minutes he can say Stockton. Bud, really good to take the time today. Thank you so much indeed. None of us are surprised to read that Sir Keir Starmer is facing calls from Labour grandees and ministers to take a more radical approach to the small boats crisis amid mounting public concern. A YouGov poll found that 71% of voters believe that the Prime Minister is handling the asylum issue badly, including 56% of Labour voters. You lot didn't get it right. He's got it even worse. I want to ask a question that for some people, they say you always ask this, but I want to know. Is there not the intelligence in government, including, I know you're going to say about Rwanda, but it wasn't started quick enough. Is there not the intelligence amongst our ruling class, or is there not a desire? Because to me, it's really, really simple. And it's going to get to a point where this explodes, a desire by the British people to get answers.
I couldn't agree more. The fact that, well, I mean, the reality is it hasn't just got a bit worse. It hasn't got a bit worse. It's got a hell of a lot worse. It's nearly 50% more people coming into the country. Record numbers, nearly 50% more. However badly it was going, there was some progress being made. The number of people in hotels had nearly halved before Labour took over. Now it's shooting back up. Now we're reaching record numbers. And of the people that are arriving here, less of them are arriving here illegally. Less of them are being removed. It's balmy, and you see the consequences for the communities to get these hotels dumped on them. These gangs of lone men hanging around town centres. People daren't send their kids out after dark. It's just...
How does the Conservative Party and you answer the accusation, genuine story here, right, that the people who are protesting, and I was right on air when the Epping thing came, and we were talking about mothers concerned about teenage daughters, but there are people who will say this is right-wing, racist language. We should, as a country, be doing our best. So just as a caveat, I've always believed that to be the case. But when your own people are missing out, you're in trouble, aren't you? And that's where this government and this country's at, because we're skint and we can't afford to look after our own. And I don't buy the people who will go, yes, but you weren't born in war. No, I wasn't. But France is not war-torn, neither is Italy. We are a soft touch, aren't we, Matt Vickers?
These people are all arriving here from the safe country that is France. Huge volumes of them. We can't go on. We can't afford it. But actually, we were making the point earlier about the difference between legal and illegal migration. Yeah, legal migration has contributed in many ways, but it can't contribute at the scale that it's occurring. You can't integrate people on the scale that they're arriving in this country. It's just not possible. And those people who arrive in this country have to be able to pay their own way. You cannot allow people to just, sponge in a system that is already facing huge pressure. We've seen the pressure and the struggle for young people to get on the housing ladder. We've seen the people waiting for doctors' appointments. All those things, all of the difficult choices that Rachel Reeves is apparently making that is costing us a bloody fortune and putting people out of work. Actually, they are not helped by legal or illegal migration if it's not controlled, if the people who come in do not fit the skills gaps that we have in this country. But when it comes to illegal migration, it's just completely out of control.
When you look at the rhetoric, you look at like say America, where Trump won and it's split right down the middle. Nigel Farage's Reform Party are on an upward curve. They are speaking, this is what I'm being straight with you, they are speaking the language that so many people that contact this station want to hear. Now, we can sit and we can argue politics, but it feels like this country is in need, Matt, of change. And it strikes me that this country is on a precipice, really, because of course we've always been moralistic and straight and correct and proper, but we're in dire bloody straits. And I have no time for the far right or the far left, but I have a lot of time for normal people who are scared to let their kids out, as you said. I have a lot of time for people who are saying, hold on a minute, I've paid my stamp for 50 years and I get jack, right? I have a lot of time for people who say, why can't I be proud of my country? I have a lot of time for people who say, I'm not against people coming here, but why do you come over and try and change everything, bash everything, and try and implement the very reasons or the social situations that you wanted to escape? So I'm sort of in that camp, but I want it done correctly. But there's no denying, all politicians of all flavours have to understand we're at a crossroads, aren't we?
There's been an epic failing by politics to get a grasp on this issue, but you've also got to come forward with a detailed, proper plan that allows you to deliver it. For instance, the Epping situation, that community desperate after what's gone on there to close that hotel. The local councillors got involved with local residents, have worked together, local Conservative councillors, might I add, who actually got the plan together, brought forward that case to court and got the thing done. Anybody can tweet about it. Anybody can say something on air or do a press conference. You actually have to have a real detailed plan that will make it work on the ground. That's what our deportation bill is about. It's about something that you can actually do. If those people had gone to Rwanda, you know those people who were meant to go to Rwanda, and everybody said, oh, this is a mad idea. Do you know where they are now? The people who were meant to go to Rwanda, they're in Richmond and Redcar and Romford. And then the government's saying, oh, we're going to speed up the processing time. There's no good speeding up the processing time and dumping them in houses in communities across the country. If people have arrived in this country illegally, they've got to go back. And if they come
tell me what I put this to.
Like Rwanda.
I put this to Reform last week, right? Nobody from Labour will even entertain it. But I put this to you, and try not to laugh, because we're already getting texts from women who say a man that looks that good and spends bank holiday Monday with his mum is more than eye candy. I think you dropped that in deliberately, Vickers. I've got you well sorted. Anyway, so here's what I would do. Yeah, look, Rachel, what a nice bit of eye candy for a bank holiday afternoon. Matt Vickers, that is, not you, of course, you old git. Rachel, there you are. I thought you were. Are you not betrothed, Vickers?
No. Young, free, single, ready to mingle.
Here we go. Rachel, would you like to come to the House of Commons and see where I sit? Oh, my God, I'm going to become like a dating show. Right, Matthew, listen to me, right? So you might think this outrageous. If I would absolutely recondition the biggest liner the government could afford, not the BB Stockholm, a liner. I would train within an inch of their life for 6 months, as they did with the Post Office, 2,000 Border Force officials, so they're crack unit. I will build I'm afraid, a centre somewhere, maybe the Orkney Islands, or a centre. I'm being completely serious. I would put the Navy to stop the first 3 boats. Nobody would set foot in this country until they were processed on that line. And within 24 hours, if you've got it, you're in. If not, you're going to a camp that does not wipe your backside, but sends a very strong message to you, which I know will then filter back, which is that the United Kingdom cannot afford to be the soft bleeding touch it's been for so long. And I don't consider that right-wing or outrageous. I consider that to be an answer to what the people of this country are talking about. And I read people say, oh, you can't say that. No, I can, because it's what I believe.
Yeah, well, the first priority has to be, well, not only where you're accommodating, the first priority has to be getting them out of the country, removing them, sending them back. And in the stopgap to that is find out where you're going to accommodate people in the short term till they get the message that they're not welcome to break into the country illegally. Until that happens, until that message goes out, they're going to just keep coming forevermore. It's ridiculous.
And it's really interesting, isn't it? Starmer's answer is always the legal answer. Today I was reading, it's all about, I need to change the rules, that the powers that judges have, so that they don't go, oh, yes, you can say, because your son will get the same, chicken nuggets in Albania. If you're tuning in and thinking, I've lost my rag, that is a very, very genuinely true story. No, he needs to be firmer, but he won't be firmer because he's trying to placate all areas of his party. So we've talked about that. Then we find out today that Mike...
Did you hear the one about the paedophile who claimed he couldn't go back because he'd face hostility in his own country for being a paedophile. I mean, he should be facing hostility here.
Were you not on air? Were you not on air when my favourite ever reason was upheld by a judge? Tell me you were, right?
No. It sounds like one of those. We tell people about these stories now as if they're chicken jokes. Oh, have you heard the one about? It's utterly ridiculous.
You won't be able to tell this one in the House of Commons, but we can prove this. A bloke went to court with a human rights lawyer and won the chance to stay in the United Kingdom because his business, which supported him and his family of 4, this is right, Ryan, isn't it, would have not worked in his home country, and so he would be destitute. Do you know what his business was? Selling sex toys, Matt Vickers, and you think I'm making it up, and under Sharia law, it's not allowed. And and look at your face, it's like my face. I'm like, what the bloody hell's going on? That's ridiculous, but it's a true story. It's not made up.
And he's still sat here. It makes you sick, doesn't it? It makes you absolutely sick. That's why people are rightly out protesting on the streets at the moment.
Right, 3 very serious stories and now 3 light-hearted ones. Our Ange, Mike Graham called her this morning, the Minister for Homing herself. The Minister for housing herself and not housing anybody else. A third home, a seafront apartment in Worthing, Hove and Brighton, worth about 800,000 on the back of the constituency house, and another. This is the government that says people shouldn't buy second homes. They're allowing rents to rise and poor people aren't going to be able to live in local communities. This lady is fast, in my opinion, starting to make John Prescott look like he didn't like the good lifestyle. What the hell? Does this always happen to people? Because this is our Ange from wherever.
3 pads Rayner. She's on it. She's a very fortunate girl. She's doing well. I mean, when you think about it, we had all the dispute before about capital gains tax, didn't we? And whether she'd paid it on this house. She'd bought a council house, didn't she?
There she is. If you're just tuning in, there she is on the beach with a vape and a nice tattoo. I think literally paddling. Is that the old MP, her boyfriend? Is that? No, we don't know. Might be. Big glass of Whispering Angel. Big coat. Yeah, going back to her 800 grand pad. She's doing all right, isn't she?
She's going across the channel again. She's well, the thing is that council tax thing, they're now hitting people left, right and centre who have second homes in all sorts of situations. They're also the guys who promised us not a penny more on council tax. And look how that's ended. It's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster in terms of council tax.
3 pads Rayner. What you're seeing there is, I think it's that Sam, whatever his name is. I don't know his second name. That used to be.
I don't think it is him. Is it?
It might not be in some little ginger bloke. Anyway, I think basically she's showing how easy it is to get into Britain on a boat. Maybe she's heading to Dover. Maybe she's
towing somebody. She's towing somebody.
Honest to God, and she's got it. The other story, I'd love your response to. I'm not a great fan of working from home. I remember coming to news. Somebody quite high up said to me on the first day, all these people that work Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays, what would you call them? And I said, so apparently Gen Z, that hard, focused group of young people who want to go out there and it used to be a favourite working from home, but now apparently almost 40% of 16 to 24-year-olds feel socially disconnected. They feel quite lonely and they want to go back to traditional office settings because they're missing people and they're getting PT, whatever they get, anxiety, from being at home. I mean, what a shock that isn't.
Do you know what, though? I do hate the work from home thing. I think it's bloody awful, isn't it? I also think, though, that employers miss out on so because you don't develop anybody. If somebody sits behind a laptop at home, A, they probably end up with no social skills, but B, they don't learn anything from the guy who's been doing the job for 10 years next to them.
Or the woman. Don't be sexist now, Matt, because it could be a woman.
It could be a woman. There's probably age you see somebody to say.
Sorry, Jodie, you said what? No wonder he's single. Couldn't agree more. Now, listen, you haven't lost your seat, have you? So I asked Jonathan Gullis that. He didn't know what to say. This is the most extraordinary story of the day, and like your response and the Conservative Party's response to James Isles, who worked as a military defence worker at NATO headquarters, and he sued NATO for harassment, and the basically it's increased his PTSD. He's got depression, anxiety, and paranoia because they failed to give him a leaving card, and it's had such a profound effect on him. And he felt it so unfair as another member of his team, watch Vickers' face, was given a card on his departure, and he's suing NATO for a serious amount of money because of the mental impact that this lack of thought has led him towards.
It says something about society, doesn't it? That we've got to a point where, you know, your employer's responsible for people not liking you in the workplace. It's quite it is a bizarre. In fact, Jeremy, I think we should be more sympathetic. I think we should send him a card ourselves.
No, he might have been crap at his job. He might have had absolutely no friends. Nobody's got a pair. You know, honest to God,
he worked in the civil service. He was probably working from home, so didn't meet anybody.
And JG, to be fair, Jonathan Gullis made a really good point. You'd think you'd be made of sterner stuff if you worked for NATO, wouldn't you? I mean, you would, wouldn't you? But obviously not. So, Matt, you left IKEA with your mum and dad.
Yeah.
To come and be interviewed, and that's lovely. So, what does the rest of the day involve? Because I'm getting texts from women saying, "Wow, this man looks amazing. This is ridiculous. This is getting ridiculous."
I'm on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. Drop me a DM.
Jodie, do you think Matt Vickers is hot? She's literally reading up.
She's got to say it because she'll be ringing me next week to see if I'm coming back on, so she's got to keep me sweet.
She said you've got a very nice flagpole. I think she said flag. Matt Vickers, have a great afternoon. Thank you for joining us on Talk Drive. Matt Vickers, of course, Tory for Stockton West and Shadow Home Office Minister, talking about the main news stories today. The public, 71% of us have absolutely bugger all trust in Sir Keir Starmer's policy on migration. That's shocking. Asylum hotels have been told to house foreign criminals. Oh, and this will shock you. Sex crimes by foreign nationals, that number has risen. But don't worry, because three pads Rayner is not in Ethiopia. She's in Hove, having Whispering Angel on beach and having a grand time. Back in 3, I'm off for a week.
Any medical professionals calling upon their hospitals to stop using medicine which benefits their patients for ideological reasons have got to be animated by something other than common sense, other than human decency. And look, if they're seeking to expunge all of Israeli products from the health service, that's a big job. Israel invented the stent, for example, which is a life-saving heart operation, a bit of equipment.
Yeah, my dad has stents. They helped him. He had a heart attack. He had stents put in. I'm sure many of our viewers and listeners have the same thing. I mean,
exactly.
There are huge contributions.
They were opened on the Conservatives' watch, you will remember, but it hasn't worked as a policy, and it has created these flashpoints. But I think it has to be done in a ordered way, and I think it needs to be done in sequence. And if you're going to do it over 4 years, it has to be done properly. And I know it looks bad. I know people are angry and saying, what the heck is going on when you're saying one thing, but it looks like you're doing something else. But it has to be done in a proper, organised way, because that's how governments have to work. But by the end of that 4 years...
They also have to abide by the rule of law.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
About 4:26, it's Bank Holiday Monday. This is Jeremy Kyle. On air, you lucky or unlucky people, I don't mind. We're here. The A-team are in for Bank Holiday, as Mike's breakfast team, and the rest of them have gone missing. Honestly, it's Bank Holiday. I can't work. I need a day off. We're here. We're up for it. 0344 499 1000. Loads of you. Jez, the only reason people now want to go back into the office is apparently this is because Gen Z now. They don't want to work from home. They're all getting depressed being at home, for Christ's sake. They're all depressed in the office. It's because summer is ending and they can save on heating heating bills if they go into the office, says Joe in Norfolk. Maybe. James, good afternoon. Maybe no one liked the bloke where he worked at NATO, which is why they didn't buy him a car, because he was at his job. I couldn't agree more. This is that dreadful story. Oh, I'm suing my employer because they didn't give me a leaving card. Maybe you had no friends and were no good at your job. Jez, just throwing this out there. Are the 32,000 in hotels the ones that MI5 are most worried about? Do MI5 want them all in one place? Easier to monitor, easier to bug, easier to intercept phone calls, less manpower to do it. But if that... What? But if it was that, can't they tell us, says Dean Ealing? I don't think anybody knows anything about what's going on, Dean. I think we're giving far too much credit. I mean, you know, if MI5 were on it, how come The Sun did this amazing investigation which found out that half of them were working for those fast food outlets? I'd seen the government didn't know about that. Afternoon, Jeremy. This is Sharon in Kent. I know, no, not doing it. Hand on heart, I honestly don't think this government will be in power next year, never mind next election. And before you say it's not possible, if they continue to stay silent, people will down tools, stop complying, stop paying until there's a coup. I can totally see the anger is stoked and there is nowhere they're going to put the lid back on this. To be honest with you, Sharon, that's quite a balanced opinion. I mean, you know, I'm not... We would never advocate anything, but I do feel we're at a situation now in this country where people are starting to question the legitimacy of so much of what they're being told what to do. Margaret forgot to say, will Richard III take money off her friend Angela Ethiopia Rayner? Yes, yes, yes. This is Three Homes Rayner. Brilliant. Alison, good afternoon. With all the time you take off for holidays, are you going to manage to do 3 hours today? I beg your pardon? Alison, with all the time I take off for holidays? Let me tell you something. After 4 days of drive this week, I'm doing breakfast for a week because you unlucky buggers, because Mike's going away. Alison, Jez, you are very handsome, but you're very old. Brilliant. Joe, do you think I'm handsome? Yeah, thanks, Joe. Sorry? You'll think I'm old. Jez, this veteran will come out of retirement to enact your plan against the... Yeah, completely. Stu's in Hales, Owen. It's great. Angela Rayner should be made minister for taking the... I agree. Let's go to Sunderland, a short joyride from Newcastle. Joan, or is it Jean? It's Jean. Joan, Jean? Joan, good afternoon.
Sunderland?
Yeah, what?
Is it Joan from Sunderland you want to talk to?
Let's go to line 4. Joan in Sunderland. Hello.
Hello there.
Hello. Do you think I'm old, Joan?
No, I'm older than you. I'm 85.
Oh, bless your heart. How is Sunderland?
Oh, don't ask.
Brilliant. OK, good. Selling the home space well. What can we do for you on this fine bank holiday Monday afternoon?
Well, I've been listening to different people and we've been getting Ascension Island as a place to send these migrants. Do you realise that Starmer, Harmer and Lammy will be absolutely in panic because they'll be thinking, Ascension Island, do we own that? Yeah. Oh, we'll have to do a deal like the Chagos Islands.
I couldn't agree more. Do me a favour at 85, on a serious note. You know, it's bank holiday, we're having a bit of fun. What do you make of where we're at in this country right now, Joan?
Well, absolute rubbish, but one other thing I was going to say, Parliament will be going back soon and it's getting a bit hot for Starmer. Now, he'll be ordering a jet, he'll be hoping for miles and miles of water between him and this country because he'll have to find somewhere, even if it's only to turn up for the opening of an envelope.
So you're not a Starmer fan then, Joni?
No, the man needs to go.
Are you a Tory?
I used to be.
And now you're going to vote Reform, right?
I'm thinking about it, but one other party I wouldn't even consider, the Liberal Democrats, because I'll be watching PMQs and that man does my head in.
Can I adopt you as my mother? That's amazing. I love you. You're so right. I mean, what does he stand for, that idiot that runs the Liberal Democrats? I mean, he managed to win 72 seats by, it seemed, bungee jumping and wearing a catsuit. I still don't know what he stands for. I really don't know what he stands for. Joni, have a good afternoon, my darling, in Sunderland. Love and best wishes to all of you. Thank you very much for being on. 0344 499 1000. It's just gone 4:30. There are several people who are dedicated to their profession and several who aren't. One man who is a former, underlined, government special advisor. my good friend James Price, who sent me a lovely WhatsApp message, because it was announced last week, of course, that I'm going to be hosting the Reform Party conference along with the chairman David Bull in a couple of weeks' time, and you were like, "Whoa, boy, what's going on?"
Good to see you, my friend. I want to get all the goss and see if we can still yet tempt you back to an older party. But we'll see how all this pans out over the next few years.
Very good afternoon to you, top man, JP. You well?
I'm well. I've been enjoying the sunny bank holiday weather. I think regular viewers, which side, that side, can see my DIY work of a brand new bookshelf over there. My amazing handiwork.
Sorry. Rewind. You put that up?
Oh, yes. And there's about 6 more around the corner there as well.
Somebody came to our new house the other day, and I was doing the ironing, and my lovely wife, Victoria, was putting up a unit, and they said this is a thoroughly modern relationship, and she said he's crap at everything bar ironing, so I might as well get on with it. So I think Mrs. Price has done well. Buddy, we're going to be a little bit light-hearted at the end, but we'll start seriously. I mean, I'm in shock this afternoon, apart from the fact that the aircon isn't working. 71% of the British public are not happy with this government's approach to migration. I'm sort of gasping the reality. It's out shocking, isn't it? Shocking.
Well, so 7 in 10 are not happy with the way the government's handling immigration, and the other 3 in 10 say, Allahu Akbar, it's great to be here, right?
Well, I'd like to know who the 29% are that think it's good.
They've all come in the last 3 or 4 years, mostly on small boats or seasonal other visas and things like that. That's the problem.
I couldn't agree more. It's extraordinary, though, that, and we've talked about this before today, they're talking about asylum hotels being told to house foreign criminals. We know that foreign nationals, there's a surge in sex crimes. I read a really, I call it, I read a newspaper article, this young man, he obviously cares about things, and he basically, took aim at people who think that immigration is an issue. I don't even know what paper it was. And he said that it's all about the way the world sees the United Kingdom, and that we had and have forever been the leaders. And I'm shouting at the newspaper on my own in the loo. I'm not going to lie. And I'm saying, but we're skint. But we can't even look after our own people. And the thing that I picked up last week, I don't know if we had this conversation, was this great belief amongst Starmer and his cronies to look good in the world. Harry Cole was on this show last week because he's now in DC. He said America's laughing at what's happening in the United Kingdom. We're the laughing stock across the world, so it doesn't work at home and it doesn't work abroad.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Look, as you know, I was in the States for a couple of weeks myself, visiting Mrs. P's family. And, we did this long road trip, and you go to see bits of the country that lots of people wouldn't see, the ones that the left wing will call flyover country. Well, we drove through it and met lots of people there. And you get chatting and they hear the accent. And after the whole, oh, my God, you sound like James Bond. And, the only way that I managed to pull a 10 out of 10 like Mrs. P, you get chatting to them. And we spoke to a lady. She was a park ranger working at the Rutherford B. Hayes Presidential Center in rural Ohio. An amazing place to go and visit. And she said, look, I don't want to be rude or anything, but, we went to go to London not that long ago. It doesn't feel like England. What's going on? And that was someone in rural Ohio. And you get this sort of story again and again and again. And the only kind of soft power international understanding that many people have about our once great country now is the rape gangs. That has cut through the Pakistani Muslim rape gangs on an industrial scale of young English girls all up and down this country is the only thing that people know about this country, maybe other than Harry Styles' album a few years ago. That's where we've got to. So this nonsense idea that it's so good for our soft power that we give away the Chagos Islands, that we kowtow on all these things, that we undermine our ally Israel by saying there'll be a Palestinian state in reward for the terrorism that Hamas committed a few years ago. All these kind of things, it's complete cobblers. And this idea as well, by the way, that, we're going to go and defend, say, the Ukrainian border, and that's going to give us all this status in the world. We can't even defend our own border, which is, again, what many American friends and colleagues said to me while we were over there. That's the kind of soft power that we're reckoning with at the moment. That's our reputation. When Starmer goes over there, the press can't even pronounce his name right. There was an awful lot of Keir Starmer going on. So
Keir what? Say that again.
Starmer.
Isn't that a bag? Oh, that's another story.
I dread to think.
We've got a voice note which you should listen to. Henry on migration, go.
Migrant issue. We need to think outside the box. No point in sending everybody to the Ascension Islands or Rwanda. Closer to home, much easier option. Floating pontoons off the east coast where they've got those delightful wind turbines. The old Dogger Bank is not very deep. You could have floating pontoons with accommodation on there, be perfectly safe, wouldn't be very pleasant in winter, have the added advantage of most people can't swim more than a couple of miles without training, so they wouldn't be able to go AWOL. It would be safe and it would be humane, and it would, most of all, it would be a deterrent because most people wouldn't want to do that.
That's the thing that I think, though, Jay, and that's great from Honey. I listen to successive politicians go on about deterrence. And you and I have said this before, the deterrent should be that it's not so damn attractive to come here in the first place. If you are, you know, this article I read, you know, these poor people, have you ever, it took aim at me because I agreed to do that reform thing, you know, you haven't ever suffered persecution. If I was on a beach in France, freezing my bits off in a tent, right, with a crap meal, and somebody said, oh, watch me on TikTok, I'll get to the Crowne Plaza Hotel at Heathrow tonight, I'd probably go for it. The problem is that those people are able to do that. And we don't seem to have politicians with a pair big enough to say that's not happening. I don't care if you think that the world's going to think we're harsh. I think the world will go, oh, they're looking out for their own. I think the world's changing and I feel like we're being left behind. I genuinely do.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. The worm has turned in America. The worm is turning across the continent, and it's happening here as well. I do think the one benefit from the horrible year that we've just had and the horrible few years we've got coming is that if things continue the way they are, and I see no reason why they will change under this government, is that we're probably looking, I think, maybe even at the last ever Labour government. So that is one thing, at least, because they don't understand this stuff. They're not willing to do what it's going to take. Rishi Sunak wasn't willing to do what it took as well. And it was Robert Jenrick who quit that government because he said, you, Prime Minister, at the time, are not willing to do the things I've told you need to do because it's going to upset some lefty people for a little bit. But the lefty people, however many there are still left of them, they're going to hate us
Anyway, and that's what Trump does. Trump says, not sticking up for him, lot I disagree with, always make that caveat, but Trump doesn't care if 48% of America disagrees with him because he's got a majority and he believes in what he says. I think our politicians, I think you've made the most wonderful point there, are so focused on what the focus group tells them they should do. If they say that, what the response will be, instead of out of... I mean, I've been watching clips of Thatcher that pop up on Instagram, talking about stuff that is so basically true about the tax situation, about encouraging growth via small business, about giving people the chance to buy their own council houses, about how there would be international chaos if people can just arrive in countries and feel they can stay willy-nilly. And you think, so where is, and I hate to use it because it's our one, but where is the common sense? Where is the sort of 2 + 2 is 4? I just don't see politicians. And what I find really interesting is that none of these politicians who seem to sit on the fence for fear of upsetting left, right, centre, top, bottom, middle or wherever, last. And I would far rather die on that hill doing something that I believed was right, that I was elected to do, even if that didn't work, because I'd be able to look in the mirror. That's how I see it.
Yeah, absolutely right. Look, Mrs. Thatcher said the problem of standing in the middle of the road is that you get knocked down from both sides. And often when she was showed poll numbers midway through a parliament, she'd say, no, we're not far enough behind, because she knew that she would have to do big things and take on big fights in order to get the kind of change that she knew the country needed. Get that done. Then you go to the people and say, look, this is what I've done. This is why I had to do it. And now you're seeing the benefits of it. That's what a real leader does. And the one thing I disagree with you about there, Jez, is I don't think the politicians are even looking at focus groups. Because if they looked at focus groups, all they would have all the time is people saying, there's way too much immigration. Why do you hate our country? Why are we not allowed to fly flags anymore? Why are you prioritising foreign criminals over British people who are struggling? And so on and so forth. Someone who I work with who runs focus groups says, you can't actually mention Starmer's name anymore during a focus group, because if you mention his name, that's it, boom. The next 58 minutes or so is just people going off on one about how much they despise the man.
Well, I've had that.
Rayner
I've had that in the past. Right, listen, do me a favour. You can leave now and go and spend a lovely 5 minutes with Mrs. P, or you can stay over the break, because I want to ask you about the new Minister for Housing herself. 3 Pads Rayner's next on Talk Drive.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
We're live across the UK. It's Bank Holiday Monday. James Price, former government special advisor, is here. Thank you for the shift, my friend. Let's talk about the light-hearted side of today's news. Orange, Ethiopia. I'm in Ethiopia. Caught, yes, in a rubber dinghy, not approaching Calais, but outside the front of her new £800,000 seafront home in Brighton and Hove. 3 pads Rayner, the minister who's trying to build 1.5 million homes, who sat up a policy that said, we found it disgraceful when them Tories in London buy second homes, has now got 3 pads, and there's a couple of interesting calls, one of which is anyone asking how the hell Rayner can afford to buy an 800-grand pad in Hove? It wasn't long ago that she lived in a council house and she's never had a proper job. It stinks. One rule for them, says Barry in North Yorkshire, and one rule for the rest of us. JP?
Do you know, I'm almost wishing I took the opportunity to jump off this call beforehand. You remember a few years ago, Jose Mourinho was interviewed about something and he said, I prefer not to speak. If I speak, I am in trouble. And I worry that I'm going to get myself in trouble in this next segment, either through libeling myself or someone else or something much worse. I fear that Angela Rayner is a complete and utter construct of the sort of left-wing media, because she is such a kind of caricature of what posh Islington-type Remainery people assume the, quote, working class are like. And my folks are working class people who left school early, have worked incredibly hard all their lives, and they wouldn't dream of calling their opponents a bunch of scum the way that Angela Rayner did. They wouldn't dream of being caught doing this, having 3 houses, at least one of whom is paid for by the taxpayer, wondering where on earth she gets the money for the rest of this, attacking everybody else, and all the other kind of unseemly stories that come out. I think she gives our country a bad look on the world stage. I think she does a whole class of people a disservice, and she does the Labour Party a disservice, and that is saying something.
Listen,
to go some to give that party.
Couldn't agree more. I'd love to know your thoughts on our Ange, people. This is what she said earlier in the year. This was January on Sky. This is our Ange, 3-pad Rayner. This is what she said about the dreadful housing crisis. Have a watch and listen.
There's plenty of housing in the UK, but the houses, especially
hang on. You can't, on the one hand, say we've got to build this 1.5 million houses and then say there's plenty of housing already.
There is plenty of housing, Trevor, already, but there's not enough for the people that desperately need it. So the homes, especially under our affordable homes programme, which is social and affordable housing, they will be there for people who desperately need them, local people.
I mean, when you look at that, Jay, with respect, you know, and I've watched... Don't get me wrong, I watched the Tory party destroy itself and be criticised in all angles, and I'm gonna say I didn't think we could stoop any lower. This is, you know, somebody said to me in Newcastle the other week, right? They said to me, the Labour Party, the clue was in the title. They are less for the working people than they have ever been. That is such a bad look, and smacks of they're all the same. But this lot, that's extraordinary. I would say that's a massive own goal. But, you know, I think they're probably lower than they could ever thought they would be anyway, and she probably knows this is it for 4 years. So, you know, get what you can.
Yeah, that may be right. It's just so unfair, isn't it? The United States of America get J.D. Vance, a Yale-educated lawyer, tech bro, decorated Marine with an IQ bigger than I can count, and we get Angela Rayner. It doesn't seem totally fair. I'm not sure what sins I committed in a past life to have her be
and as Mike
Minister.
Always says, go and look online at how she says Ethiopia. I went to Ethiopia. It's brilliant. Right, 2 other quick stories before you disappear. Gen Z, they're feeling stressed, depressed, they've got anxiety and PTSD because working from home, they're very lonely and anxious and they need to go back to work, which is what we've been saying for months. Meet some people, get some friends.
The good book, Luke 15:7 says, there's more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repenteth than 99 just men who need not repent. They realise the error of their ways, and now they're getting back into the real world. That's what we need much more of. Well done. Come and join the real world, young kiddos.
Yes, quite right. And finally, obviously, a moment's silence. I'm sure you might have heard this story today. A Ministry of Defence worker at NATO headquarters is suing NATO for harassment. Do you know this story? His PTSD, depression, anxiety and paranoia have been triggered. Watch James Price's face or listen to him, because upon leaving his job after several years, he wasn't sent a good luck card, and he is suing NATO and his workers because of the James on his knees, suing NATO because of the impact this has had on his well-being. I honestly, I can't.
Where to even begin with this? Mrs. P and I spent some of Bank Holiday Monday visiting friends of hers who just had a beautiful newborn baby, new baby Alexander, brought into this world full of hope and wonder and joy. And it was a beautiful sunny day and all the rest of it. And what kind of world, and what kind of Britain at least, is baby Alexander going to be brought up into? One in which someone from the Ministry of Defence, who you'd think would be
in NATO, in NATO, yes,
in NATO. Christ. And the parents of baby Alexander were thinking, is the country finished? Should we stay and fight? Should we just move to the States? I bet you no one in the Pentagon is suing anybody over hurt feelings for not getting a goodbye
And
card.
I'm surprised they know he's called baby Alexander, because I'll repeat the story I do every day because I want to, about the midwife who ran her several months ago. 27 years experience. She was at the latest birth. This was a year ago. And she handed a beautiful baby to the mother and father and said, congratulations on the birth of your beautiful boy. And they reported her, and she got a written warning for telling them the sex of their child because it was up to them, and she gave up and said, I can't deal with it anymore. Listen, I'm out of time. You and Mrs. P have a fantastic remainder of the bank holiday. We love you, man. Thanks for being on. James Price on Talk Drive, 11 to 5.
When this first started in Epping, is that if they closed that hotel, this was policy collapse. Because it was kind of the lightning rod. This was one hotel and it has now spread. And unfortunately, the government is without a clue. And how they will push forward, as we were just saying, that we've got to have to hope that they've got these new centres going. But the amount that they're going to have to build and kind of renovate to get going is nowhere near ready. This is one of the reasons I think that they're really hoping to kind of drag out a legal case. But honestly, I do not know what they're going to do.
Any medical professionals calling upon their hospitals to stop using medicine, which benefits their patients for ideological reasons, have got to be animated by something other than common sense, other than human decency. And look, if they're seeking to expunge all of Israeli products from the health service, that's a big job. Israel invented the stent, for example, which is a life-saving heart operation, a bit of equipment.
Yeah, my dad has stents. They helped him. He had a heart attack. He had stents put in. I'm sure many of our viewers and listeners have the same thing. I mean,
exactly.
There are huge contributions.
They were opened on the Conservatives' watch, you will remember, but it hasn't worked as a policy.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
It's still to come in the next 2 hours. Loads of lovely guests. A true story about Ryan and a bloke in a pub this weekend. And Big Dave spills his guts on what life is really like as one of the most able technical people ever who can't add up. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. We say a very good afternoon to International Border Control expert, a man who, frankly, should be running the whole goddamn thing. Henry Bolton, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon. Very well.
Where's the flag? Have you taken it down because you're scared you're going to be prosecuted, man? What's the matter with you?
No, not at all. If you look on my X account, you'll see me at the pub yesterday with Union flags, Union Jacks everywhere. So,
well, I think I can't drinking's. I can't condone that. Right, HB. We haven't got a lot of time. We never do. I'm frankly in a state of shock. I'm sure you're not, but 71% of the United Kingdom have decided that they're not particularly keen on Starmer's approach to migration or immigration. My question to you is, who the bloody hell are the 29% who think he's doing okay?
I have not a clue, unless it's the people who are campaigning for open borders and want more and more of these people here. I'm certainly one of the people who, in the 71%. No, he's not doing anything effective on borders. We know that. The only people who can possibly think he's being effective people who simply don't believe in having borders.
Or maybe 29% of our population are people who have come in here illegally, because it seems to be thousands upon thousands. And I thought it was very interesting
Actually, you've got a good point there, because, I mean, of course, one of the drivers, one of the pull factors is that we've got so many people here who are encouraging family members and friends from where they've come from to come here. And then they move into those diaspora communities back here in the UK. They can work on the black market, because it absolutely is a facilitator of this movement. If people felt that they could come to the UK, but once here they would have no work, they'd have no network to call on for support, then they wouldn't be coming.
Listen, the thing that fascinates me / infuriates me, I mean, there was the Epping decision last week. We've seen over the weekend protests from both sides. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in trying to do what's right by the British people. I understand people's frustration. I'd love to know how many people hijack it on the other side, but that's not for me to argue. What I think is patently obvious is that our Prime Minister is either thoughtless, gutless, or both together, because his answer always is legally. I'm going to curb the powers of judges to make stupid decisions to allow people. No, close the border, deport people. Don't allow people to put their foot in a land that's wiping their backside until they can verify that they are legal migrators. Now, we've said it, legal migration has benefited this country. And if you were or could come in legally, you wouldn't be coming on a bloody boat. I don't understand that. And I don't understand, that I've said to you on numerous occasions before, why we're not able to create a crack team that can process people like that within 24 hours. You're in or you're out. And if you're out, you ain't coming in, and it's not going to be nice. And that message will permeate backwards. Don't get it, HB. Never have. Never have.
There simply is not the moral courage to do it. There's not the will to do it. Look, we can do this. I mean, just think of 43 years ago or whatever, Maggie Thatcher decided when the Argentinians went into the Falkland Islands that she was going to take those islands back, that we were taking them back. And we did that in 3 months. We put together a task force, we sailed down there, we took the islands back, we achieved an Argentinian surrender, all within 3 months. Now, that's 8,000 miles away. If we can do that, then we can do this. It's simply a matter of whether or not the government has the spine and the will to do it.
Do you think that spine and that will be forced upon whatever government is in power by the sheer desire of British people? Or do you think that there are as many people who think it's racist to say you can't come into the country? Or do you, like me, feel that there is a surge that is not going backwards amongst people who are not far right? They've just done everything right in their lives and they feel like they're being treated so badly.
Yeah, I think this is a momentum that is going to build and build. And if the government cannot find the will and the determination and actually the knowledge, because they absolutely lack the knowledge as to how to do this. There's a lot of popular ideas as to what we should do, put the Navy in the Channel and so on, but that doesn't survive contact with legal, political, diplomatic, or any other sort of reality or operational reality. That's the fact. So, but the government doesn't have the knowledge or the will, and unless it finds that, then I think we are heading further and further towards escalation. It has been escalating over the last few years, Jeremy. we see it more now. At some point, this is going to spill over, and I don't know how that's going to play out. Of course, I don't.
Nobody wants that, but I fail to understand how people cannot. Well, you can, I can, this station can, several media people can, but so much of the mainstream doesn't seem to be able. I was talking. I've only got a couple of minutes, but this article about this guy was saying, this is wrong. We shouldn't be talking like this. These poor people. There's never the mention of the people in this country. The guy on Bournemouth Beach who was let off from sticking his hands down some young 17-year-old girl's trousers, ruining her life. He had a bad upbringing. Let's let him stay. Why do we seem to sod the victims or sod the indigenous population? That's what annoys me.
People saying this, Jeremy, have not seen the world. They live in their little isolated bubble, maybe a little area where multiculturalism does work, where there's no tension, where everybody gets on, where everybody's wealthy, where there's not a high crime rate, and everybody's housed and everybody's, got a decent income and standard of living. But that is not the reality for the vast majority of this nation. You go to Ammanford in South Wales, you go to the east end of Folkestone, where I live, you go up to Hartlepool, you go up to Bolton or Derby, and the places. These are places that have been changed beyond all recognition, socially, culturally, visually, in every respect. And people are sick and tired of it. And the problem is, all these people that you talk about, Jeremy, they're people who don't live in places like that.
Quite right, too. Couldn't agree more. Let me tell you, and I've said it to you on numerous occasions, mate, we appreciate the shift on a bank holiday. You would be the first person that anybody with a brain cell would speak to. You've done it before and you can do it again. Henry Bolton.
If they want to call me.
Listen, they're all mad. Thank you, Henry Bolton, International Border Control Expert. Almost 5 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom. It's Bank Holiday Monday. Hello to Glyn in Castrick. Afternoon, Jez. Great to see you're putting a shift in for a changed. Great show, mate. Interesting to see that you still can't write properly, Glyn. Just joking. 0344 499 1000 is the telephone number. You can send a text, 87222. Start your message with the word talk. On the way, your calls and Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott, next on Talk Drive.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Afternoon, it is Bank Holiday Monday. We're live across the UK on the Hub of Common Sense and Free Speech. This is Jeremy Kyle on Talk. Hello. Thanks for tuning in, by the way. If you have, thanks for the commitment. If you haven't, Disgraceful. We're here. Big Ryan is here. Still to come, the story about how he literally ran away from a man's advances in a pub on Saturday night. Big Dave is here. He's now in my good books, despite his inability to hit the button at the right time, because he bought biscuits in, which is great. And our Jodie is just full of life. Full of it. I'm not going to say that. 0344 499 1000 is the telephone number. Text to 87222. Couple of calls really quickly. We'll get them on. We'll get your texts. Let's go to Cumbria. Angela. Hold on a minute. Angela's in Cumbria? I thought she were in Hove in a new house. That's not Angela Rayner, is it?
No.
No, because you should be in Ethiopia or Hove. How are you, Angela, in Cumbria? What do you want?
I'm very traumatised, Jeremy. Very nice to talk to you. I'm Angela. And I'm in Cumbria, but I was born in Hampstead.
Right, you traumatised then?
Well, because I realised that when I resigned from my job in the local government department in the London Borough, I won't tell you which borough, Havery, and the thing is that I'm now traumatised because I now realise that when I left, I didn't get a card or any party. I mean, what? I realise now why I sound young, but I'm 76. Now I realise why I've been so mad moving around the country all these years.
Because you've been running away from the reality. Ladies and gentlemen, Angela in Cumbria is responding to this terrible story today. I don't know if you've just tuned in. Let me just...
My solicitor, I'm going to get her.
Well, I think you should tomorrow, because let me just explain this story to people who perhaps don't understand why Angela is upset. She's upset because a Ministry of Defence worker at NATO headquarters is suing the MOD for harassment and upset, and how their behaviour has triggered PTSD, depression, anxiety and paranoia, because upon leaving his job, James Isles was not given a good luck leaving card, and it has traumatised him, and he wants about 5 years' wages. You must be feeling the same, Angela. I'm so sorry.
Well, thank you, Jamie.
Any support that we can give you, obviously, as a show, we'll do that off air, and obviously I hope that, you know, I mean, what can I say? I mean, should we buy you a card? Would that make a difference?
Oh, that would be lovely. I worked for them. I saved them back in the 80s, 90s. I saved them £1 million.
You've had 30 years of trauma. For people tuning in, if you think you're having a bad Monday, Angela in Cumbria left her job 25 years ago. She didn't get a leaving card. She's traumatised.
No. And that's why I'm mad. Oh, dear, oh, dear.
All right, listen, I'll get you to speak to Jodie. Do apologise. Such a terrible, terrible, terrible situation. That's Angela in Cumbria, traumatised that 25 years ago she didn't get a leaving card. That explains why she's been running around the country like a mad woman. We'll go to London. James, you're on Talk Drive. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jeremy. Fantastic show again. You never let the site down.
Well, I'm being sarcastic comments today, like he's turned up on a bank holiday. Jesus, I've got about 9 straight days. Right, what we got?
Well, what we got, Jeremy, it's quite easy to go and resolve this migrant issues or illegal migrant issues that we got into this country. Mr Farage, you have to repeal everything from 1997 onwards that Tony Blair brought into this country to put us into this mess. It's quite simply, anything from 1997, Mr Farage, get your eyes on it. We need to have it abolished so we can do mass deportation.
I was talking to somebody from Reform the other day. We've got Isabel Oakeshott on Just a Tick, and I put the point that so many people are putting, which is we hear, don't we, that the blob has such power, that the institutions have so much power, and that actually leaving the ECHR and the legal ramifications and the appeals process. But I happen to believe that Nigel Farage has both the gumption, the desire, and will have the confidence of a public that means he will face those battles head on. It's not going to be nice. It's a bit like Trump. And if he does win, I'm sure half the country will be calling him every name under the sun. But I do believe fervently, James, that we have reached a point where something has to give. Thank you very much indeed. 6 minutes past 5. We're live across the United Kingdom. The last time I spoke to this lady, I said, we're going to see each other at Reform Party conference because I'm sort of hosting some of it. And she went, are you? Well, it's all official now. Good afternoon, Isabel Oakeshott.
You're not doing much for my credentials of being on top of all the news, are you, with that story?
Well, are you happy now? I mean, you didn't look very happy. I was a bit upset. I went home. I was quite traumatised. I'm not getting a leaving card when you leave somewhere. I got PTSD, mate.
I got PTSD because I didn't know about it, and I was thinking, call yourself a journalist? You don't even know that the great Jeremy Kyle is going to be comparing at the Reform Party conference? Well, I'm just good for nothing, really, then, aren't I?
No, you're not. You're the best. Now, I want you to we're going to have a little bit of serious stuff, but also going to have a little bit of a laugh, OK? We're going to leave migration for the moment, and we're going to talk about three pads Rayner. As Mike Graham calls Angela Rayner now, the Minister for Housing herself and nobody else. It's come to pass that our Ange isn't in Ethiopia. Our Ange has now got three houses, a Grace and Favour under Admiralty Arch, a sort of constituency house that she once said she didn't have, but now she does have, and an £800,000 seafront apartment in Hove. There are pictures of her, which I'm sure they'll be playing in a minute, of her out on a blow-up with, it looks like a ginger bloke paddling, but I'm not getting involved. She's got a vape, a tattoo and a bottle of Whispering Angel. It's very classy. Many people are saying, you know, 800,000, where'd you get the mortgage? But I think the bigger question is, this is so hypocritical, Isabel. Have a listen to what Angela Rayner said in January when quizzed about the housing crisis. Have a listen, peeps.
There's plenty of housing in the UK, but the houses, especially
hang on. You can't, on the one hand, say we've got to build this 1.5 million houses and then say there's plenty of housing already.
There is plenty of housing, Trevor, already, but there's not enough for the people that desperately need it. So the homes, especially under our affordable homes programme, which is social and affordable housing, they will be there for people who desperately need them, local people.
Isabel, have I missed it? Look at Isabel, she's looking down, getting ready. All yours, Oakeshott, go.
No, what I was actually doing was checking the price of Whispering Angel, just because, you know, don't we all love a champagne socialist? It's not the cheapest of rosé, is it?
No.
I mean, I checked it out. You can, at a push, get a bottle for under £13, but only just. So I'm just going to say that Ange lives a lifestyle that most of us can only aspire to. I'm generally in favour of as many homes as possible. I love to think that people can aspire to have a holiday home. You know, what an absolutely lovely thing that is. I, many years ago, bought a flat on the Isle of Wight, and I can't tell you how much great pleasure it's given the whole family. Unfortunately, though, Labour has declared war on second home owners, and that's the problem for our Ange here, that it just doesn't fit with her own party's philosophy. It's a bit like when Labour ministers send their children to private schools. You know, it just doesn't really sit very well, does it? And the only sort of positive I'm taking from this is I'm just wondering whether Ange has been speaking to Rachel Reeves lately. I'm not sure the relations between those two are that great, but the very strong rumours are that Rachel Reeves is coming for anyone who's got any property at all, never mind 2 or even 3 homes. And maybe we can take from this that not all second home owners and third home owners are going to get clobbered, because Big Ange has obviously thought it's fine to go ahead and add to her property portfolio.
I couldn't agree with you more. You used a word then, aspiration. I believe this government has started a war on aspiration. You think about the NI rises against small and medium-sized businesses that create growth by employing people and money filters down. Anybody who's been seriously successful is now leaving this country because they're being screwed by this government. And in fact, it was Richard Tice, your partner, who said to me weeks ago, what does that do to the exchequer? How many millions, trillions, billions of pounds are really successful people paying in tax? They're going to leave the country. The thing about the Labour Party, which, you know, I was around in 79, so I sort of thought this would happen. The younger generation, perhaps not. This is hypocrisy on the highest level, complete hypocrisy. If you asked working class people north of Watford Gap, whether Angela Rayner, right, represented working class people, they'd look at you like you'd landed from Mars. They are stuck in enjoying, in my humble opinion, much like the Tories did, though, enjoying the fruits of being in government, and they're not doing anything to make the public's life better. That's what I think.
Completely. And, you know, you and I are on the same page with this one. I thought Labour was at its best when it was aspirational. You know, there was that famous quote from Peter Mandelson back in the late 90s, I think it was, where he said that the party was supremely relaxed about people getting filthy rich. Labour is at its best when it not only backs the workers, represents the people with the least, but also encourages everybody to pursue the dream of having more, of building up something that they can not only enjoy themselves but leave for their children.
Well, you can't leave it for your children now, because you'll be absolutely screwed the minute you die. That's the whole point. I'm so with you. What I said to James Price, I've been just up on Instagram, I've been popping all these Thatcher moments, and it's extraordinary. OK, extraordinary how she talks about international chaos if you allow people to stay who shouldn't. How she says that, you know, you should be able to buy your home, save, that you should be able to... Aspirations, gone. I suppose we have to talk about it. Again, a shocking piece of news for a bank holiday Monday. 71% of the British electorate in a YouGov poll are dissatisfied, very unimpressed, with Sir Keir Starmer's approach to the migration crisis. I think the bigger question, Isabel Oakeshott, is who the bloody hell are the 29%? Are they all illegal migrants, or have they never heard of him? 71%.
I know, I'm completely bewildered by this. You know, if I were Keir Starmer, I'd be very encouraged to know that almost 30% of people think he's handling this okay. I mean, all that can be said is that perhaps a small number of those people don't read any newspapers, don't listen to any news, certainly don't listen to us here on Talk Radio. I've no idea why not. So they've no idea what's going on. And some of them may be, I mean, frankly, we've got so many illegal immigrants now that, as you say, maybe a significant chunk of that near 30% are actually illegal immigrants.
Let me put this into perspective. I'm not a math genius, but this has just come to me. I failed maths O-level 6 times, so if I get this wrong, only 32% voted for Keir Starmer to be the Prime Minister out of this country. 70% of 30% in numbers is 21, which means that 9%, 8 or 9% of this country only think that he's doing a good job. That makes it a bit more impressive, doesn't it, if we're honest, because such a small amount of people voted him in the first place. But either way, did you see his latest thing that he said? He went, I think we need to curb the power of judges. It's all legal, isn't it? It's all jargon.
Yeah, and the whole thing about speeding up the processing of appeals, I actually don't want to see any more appeals. You know, I think that we've got to a point now where if you've come illegally, frankly, you should be disqualified from applying at all. That's what the Tories had put in place before the last election. Not that I want to give them too much credit, but they had at least done that. So, you know, you should be ruled out from the start, never mind having the facility to appeal at all. And I really worry, and I'm sure most of our listeners do, that speeding up appeals just means speeding up rubber stamping. Absolutely.
And it's a word that, you know, I was saying to you the other day, wasn't I, 10 years ago, 5 years ago even, you couldn't probably have said immigration. You'd have been called every name. It will not be long, whatever anybody says, and however much people criticise this station, or in their mind people who, you know, are thinking only of British people. People will start calling for deportations, and this is not going away for Starmer. It's not going away from any government that's in power, and it simply is because, and I can't get away from believing this, that whilst things appeared rosy in the United Kingdom, I think British people were happy to be the leaders, the moral people that always put their hand in their pocket and always gave, right? Now we have a system in place where an apologist government has screwed the British people to such a degree, and on the back of COVID and everything else, that I think people are saying, I'm really sorry, you know, charity doesn't in this moment have to begin at home. And I know people hate me saying that, but, you know, if I was 80 and I wanted to see a doctor, and I can see a doctor, I'm really fortunate, but if I couldn't, and I saw somebody coming from another country who wasn't, you know, escaping a war-torn country, who'd thrown his passport away and was a bit of a criminal, I'd be really hacked off. And I wouldn't want to be called far right. I wouldn't want to be called all the things that these people are. I'd want to be saying, I'm a taxpayer, I've done my bit, and I feel like I'm a second-class citizen, and I think that's really important.
I think the change in public mood even in the last 3 months is quite remarkable. I think Downing Street should be truly alarmed by the mood of the nation, by just how impatient people are now getting with this situation. We've all been pushed too far. Sure, there may be a small percentage of people in the country that think this is all fine. I don't know what planet they're living on. They're not living on any kind of normal street, I don't think, in any kind of normal parts of the country. If you think that this is sustainable, then you are living in an absolute bubble. And, you know, I saw something on social media today that really shocked me. It was a youngish British guy who was literally on his hands and knees on a street in Birmingham begging for help. Now, I suspect that he may well have had addiction problems. What I know he had, because I could hear somebody with some medical expertise in the background saying it, was a very, very serious infection in his leg that was likely to lead to amputation and, if not attended to soon, will lead to death. And people were just walking by. And I thought, you know what? If that guy was in a migrant hotel, he'd be having the best of care. And we are abandoning our most troubled people, our most vulnerable people, in favour of those categories of people and many besides who don't fall into those categories from overseas countries.
And this is why I can so have this conversation with you. Your story resonates because where I live, without going to detail, on a Saturday, 3 Saturdays on the bounce, I was going to town, probably being sent by Mrs K to do something. And every time I've been, this veteran sat there, right? He's got, he hasn't been injured, but he's done 14 years and he's homeless. He's been thrown out of his accommodation to accommodate migrants. And he said to me with tears in his eyes, twice, I stopped and talked to him, he just says, I don't get it. I gave 14 years for Queen, now King and country, and I'm treated like a second-class citizen. And all those do-gooders who would say, oh, Isabel Oakeshott, Jeremy Kyle, Talk, Mike Graham, Julia Hartley-Brewer, oh, it's just too, oh, you're just outrageous. Go and talk to that bloody bloke that you saw in Birmingham. Go and talk to that veteran and ask him whether he thinks that what we're talking about is actually not on the lips of a majority of people in this country who have always done right and have always tried to do right, but right now feel they're at the back of the queue, because that is exactly what you said. That is what's changed in people's minds, isn't it? Definitely.
It's not just that they feel that they're at the back of the queue. They literally are being pushed towards the back of the queue. We know this. You know, there is umpteen cases of people saying they're British people, they need housing, and they're being told you've got an X number of years to wait. Do you know what, Jeremy, like you, I actually don't care what people call me, because I know that I'm not racist. I know I'm not anti-Islam. I'm none of these things.
Neither am I.
But touch me if people make those accusations. What I am is somebody like so many of our listeners that is truly frightened by what is happening to our country and the kind of second-class citizen status that so many of our most vulnerable people are having to take.
2 stories to finish, because only you will be able to give me that look. Gen Z. Working remotely once a Gen Z favourite is leaving many feeling isolated, suffering with depression, anxiety and ultimately PTSD. And a Bupa survey has revealed today that nearly 40% of 16 to 24-year-olds feel socially disconnected due to the nature of their jobs and would like to go back to the office. Who knew? Who knew?
I mean, we talked about this morning on Mike's show, and I was just remembering how much fun it was to be in the office when I was in my 20s. You know, it's much the most fun when you're young and junior and there's not too much to lose, isn't it? And I'm not surprised.
Who remembers photocopying bits of your anatomy at the Christmas party? You can't have anything like that anymore. Look, he's getting ready for the dump button. I didn't say anything. I'm just saying we used to jump on the photocopy and have a picture of your bum. You can't do it. You don't have any fun at all nowadays, can you?
Well, I mean, it's not really something you're going to do on your own in your house, is it?
No.
I mean, I don't know. But
I wonder how many of Gen Z photograph their own bottoms in their own houses. But perhaps the saddest story of all today, Isabel, and I'd like you to just try and give, as you always do, a really, humble response to this, because a Ministry of Defence worker at NATO headquarters is suing his employment. This is James Isles. Have you heard this story? Because he's now got PTSD, depression, anxiety and paranoia because, and I quote, upon leaving after 11 years, he wasn't given a good luck card and it's traumatised him to the point that he's suing the NATO organisation where he worked. I'd like your response, please, about this poor individual, James Isles. Isabel Oakeshott.
Well, obviously my heart goes out to him, but I'm kind of encouraged to hear about this case because it really has given me an idea of how many millions I might be able to claim, because I don't think I've ever been given a good luck card. No. I hope it's not because no one wants to wish me good luck, but...
Well, maybe James didn't have any friends or was crap at his job, or maybe I'll be in trouble for saying that. What a soft, over... Oh, I can't bear that young, entitled rubbish.
It can't be real. It can't be real.
It is real. It is absolutely a real story. James Isles is suing NATO. And that's the other thing. Earlier, NATO. You'd think if he worked at NATO, he might have a bit of backbone. I know you haven't sent me a card.
Oh, my God. It just, I'd like to think that maybe NATO has bigger things to be dealing with us at this point.
Yeah, that's why they were busy. It's so nice to speak to you on a bank holiday. Obviously, you're looking forward to seeing me now at the Reform Party conference, aren't you?
I literally cannot wait for that moment. Are you going to give me some horrible disease again, like you did at the Christmas time?
Right, sorry, could we just now, look, could we, if you have just tuned in, that is a sort of one sentence didn't sound good. When Isabel Oakeshott, are you going to give me a disease like you did last Christmas? Would you like to... Yes, but how does that sound? That sounded awful. Sounded like,
I think there are pictures to prove the moment that this happened, and that will clarify in people's minds that nothing entirely untoward.
So online, there are pictures of me giving Isabel Oakeshott... No, this is getting worse, this whole conversation.
I think we're just going to have to move on now.
We were at a party at the House of Commons and I gave her a kiss and I was really ill and she spent Christmas being ill and we spent it together and no, I'm joking. We both were very, very ill. So, no, I'm not going to give you anything when I see you next week. But I'm going to ask you, I will bring with me, do you want a packet of custard creams or a packet of chocolate biscuits? What do you prefer?
Oh, definitely chocolate biscuits, definitely.
It's on the way to the NEC. You're a sweetheart. Listen, thank you so much indeed on a Bank Holiday Monday. It Talks International editor Isabel Oakeshott, live and exclusive across the UK. It's 5:24. Can I just point out, this studio is roasting again. Is there no aircon in here, Rayner, or is it me? He doesn't care. He's going for a wee. He always goes for a wee.
Has created this flash.
What is that saying about Britain to the rest of the world, to the global community? What is it saying about what our benchmark is? You know, we're almost saying we don't have high standards anymore for all students up and down the country. And I think it's got to go in tow with, you know, it's one thing scrapping the compulsory research, but if all you're doing is a white paper inquiry, some curriculum tweaks, not allowing schools to really dig deep, going all the way back to primary, all the way through to secondaries.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, Talk Drive for Bank Holiday Monday. A few things I need to throw in your direction. First is Johnny Ratner who does the travel only on a bank holiday. I am actively, I'm going to say this to his bosses, he's bloody brilliant. He's the only man who makes traffic and travel not sound like, he's brilliant. Johnny Ratner, just off M5, Junction 5, there's a problem with the traffic lights. We love him. Johnny Ratner should be doing it full time. That's the first point. The second is, not having to go anyone. Air conditioning's broken in the studio. It is like a Turkish bath. Ryan came in, typical, and went, no point in trying to get that mended today. We'll have to send a memo, which will take about a week. So by the time you get it sorted, the weather's going to change and you'll probably end up freezing your cobs off. That's great. That's Ryan. Talking of Ryan, ladies and gentlemen, I've been promising you this since the start. He was out having a pint with a mate at the weekend. Ryan is 6'7", huge feet, not going any further. Never know Mrs. Thrussell. Never mind. And he said this is how he does it. And then there was this bloke, right, and he just like came up and sat with us, and then he wouldn't go. And then he started stroking the back of my neck and saying, you're a very good-looking boy. And Ryan goes, I need to go home to my wife and pussy cat. And then he said, I went because I felt quite threatened. So, I don't know. Jodie and I have tried to calm him down. I mean, he seems more traumatised than the bloke who didn't get a leaving card. But maybe Ryan's true self is coming out. We'll see. We'll let you know. Certainly we will. 0344 499 1000. Hello to Terry in Birmingham, mate. Jez, just who are the 29% who think Starmer's doing a good job? Do you think it's the public service workers and other loonies that got a pay rise? Possibly. John Roberts is in Germany. How did our Ange get the mortgage for the house? 800 grand? That's true. I thought you could only get, what is this, right, 3 times your joint salary or whatever? Her job doesn't pay enough and her prospects don't look good. Couldn't she afford a place in Ethiopia? You see, that's where she needs to... Maybe she's got a house in Ethiopia, built from Thailand. Yeah. Everybody wants rid of this government, but remember, Starmer will probably send himself, Mrs. Balls, Rachel from Accounts and the property tycoon, and Ange to the House of Commons. 400 quid a day, 371. Hello to Rich. Agree with James. Spend a lot of time in the Mid-East USA and it's booming. All the people moved out of California and New York to these states. Every restaurant packed every night. Rest of the world has no appreciation of the wealth difference. They're getting it right. We're getting it wrong. Dan from Kent. The migrant situation is an easy problem to solve, made hard by modern politician. Times are changing, they're gutless and people are speaking. Keith says, Jez, I don't believe that migration can't be controlled by words. There needs to be a more direct approach. They should be put on tags so as they enter the country and have their biometric identification taken. If they go through the legal system, then it should be paid for by the person going through the process and not by us taxpayers. We give too much of an incentive for people to make the decision to travel to this country, and that needs to stop. And we need to take the gloves off and tell the government to stop playing the big guy on the world stage and do at home what they were elected to do completely. Dave, this government, spine or a will? 2 hopes. One's Bob. Yes, Dave in Dorset, Falklands veteran, good man. The 29%, said Bill in Ipswich, have only said they agree with Keir Starmer because they haven't ever heard of him. David is in Swindon. Can people ask the next Tory when do they think only a third in the polls when we have a Labour government so bad that they cannot seriously think they're finished? Great. Natasha, Jez, exciting news that you're hosting the Reform Conference. It's going to be great. Yeah, well, part of it, we're there, we're having fun. Friday and Saturday, NEC, 5th and 6th. It'll be interesting. I'll be asking some questions. Dan from Kent, I've said all along it's the age of hypocrisy. The left are trying to sell a socialist government but enjoying the Labour... Yeah, the Labour's answer of capitalism. Finally, Dave in South Gloucestershire. Back in the 80s, I got a promotion and moved areas. The folks, including my own team, did give me a good luck card. However, my boss just wrote goodbye on it. Wonder how this MOD bloke would have felt about that. Must explain that my then boss was and remained a good friend. A sense of humour was a vital attribute and should be now. I once had Jeff a job and somebody just put sod off. I'm so traumatised I might sue him. What a load of old rubbish. 5:30. The maximum mortgage, nearly called her, because Prescott was called 2 Jags Prescott and she's called 3 Pads Rayner. The maximum mortgage amount you can get depends on your income, monthly outgoings, employment security and your deposit size, with many lenders offering up to 4.5 times your annual income, though some might offer more, 5 times for high earners or professionals. She's on 100 grand a year. 5 is not 800, which means she's had a large deposit. Where did she get that from? The money she saved on council tax for the house that she apparently didn't... I've no idea. And she's a socialist. Should she have 3 houses? There's only one person who can pass judgment. A man who is always in the right place at the right time. When there was a new pope, this man was ready. And now, when we need as a nation to address the Minister for Housing herself, Lord Benedict of Spenscombe. Good afternoon.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
What did you say?
Nothing. Never mind.
What the? Should we do that again? That all went hideously
catch you
wrong.
off guard slightly.
No, it didn't work.
It have worked.
Benedict Spence, a very good afternoon. There you are in the drawing room of Spencedom Towers. We can talk about migration, frankly. I'm a little bit bored of it. Angela Rayner, our Ange. Three pads Rayner. And as Mike Graham officially sort of made her known as this morning, the Minister for Housing herself and bugger all for anybody else. I mean, it is extraordinary hypocrisy, isn't it? A government that is hell-bent on ruining any aspiration, any desire to succeed. She's got three houses, Benedict.
I mean, the government has suggested it's going to start moving migrants out of hotel accommodation. Maybe she's taking one for the team and she's going to house all of these people herself, one property at a time. There's nothing technically wrong with what she's done, but it is unbelievable cheek that politicians still think that they can get away with this. And it has been pointed out that a significant number of Labour MPs in particular are landlords at an exact moment when the country's going through a housing crisis, a migration crisis, and doesn't seem able to pass any new legislation on building regulations. As you say, for the housing minister, for the deputy prime minister to be adding to her portfolio, a small, modest portfolio, but a portfolio nonetheless, at this exact moment, the optics, as they say. Not good.
And this is on these optics are on the back of the. Who was the woman who had to resign? Was she a housing? Who was the woman that had to resign because she'd thrown people out and doubled the rent or something? What was that? What was that? A couple of weeks ago.
Oh, wasn't she the Minister for Homelessness?
Yes, Minister for Homelessness. Yes. Decided to double the rent on her pad somewhere that she has as a second home and threw the people onto the street. It's extraordinary hypocrisy. But on a serious note, Labour's about we're going to crush small businesses with these NI increases. We're going to we're against all these millionaires are leaving, we're against aspiration. And, I remember all those times thinking, maybe they're right, maybe the Tories do have their noses in the trough and maybe it's time for a change. They're as bad, if not worse, aren't they, B? I mean,
they
really.
are. I mean, the culture of politics in this country for a very long time has been absolutely rotten. And we can go back to the expenses scandal and we can remember, the raft of MPs on both sides of the divide who had their fingers in the till, so to speak. I'm afraid to say politics in this country simply doesn't attract the right kind of people. It's why ultimately you'll get sort of the odd individual who will stand out and people will go, oh, I like that person. I don't know, be it Rupert Lowe, be it Jacob Rees-Mogg, whoever it is, because they're not in it to make money. They're in it for the love of their...
Well, because they've got loads of money. And there's a point. There's a point, yes. They want to do something good.
And it shouldn't be the case that our best MPs are backbench gentlemen amateurs who are able to do it almost sort of a hobby and are therefore able to go into things with a clear mind because they're not motivated by their own, by their own tenets or anything like that. But that does appear to be the situation that we've got to, where actually it's people who, frankly, we can have a bit of a laugh and say, well, this person's a bit of a toff, this person's a multimillionaire, but those are the ones that seem to be cutting through.
And do you know what's really interesting is that the reason I think this is really interesting, and I know obviously we'll dig at it, but there's a serious side to this. I remember when she first became Deputy Prime Minister, she was a mum at 16, a grandmother at 35 or 36. She has pulled herself up from a council estate upbringing in somewhere in the north, I think Stockport, right, to become Deputy Prime Minister. That will have resonated with millions and millions of working class people who would see that, ironically, as aspirational. And now they look at a Labour Party and Angela Rayner with three houses who doesn't give them the time of day and does differently in private what she says in public. And there's the disconnect between all politicians, I think, and trying to win that back. I mean, you said to me the other day, the Labour Party, the title's in the clue, Labour, they're not a working class party anymore. I just feel like she will quite rightly have attracted many, many people thinking you've betrayed what you said you believed in.
I think if the economy was doing well, people might have a little bit more sympathy.
Yeah.
But because it is doing so badly, and it is so many people of her own background, of her class,
yes,
who are struggling the most.
Yeah,
that is the thing. And Labour, I saw Bridget Phillipson actually yesterday, the Education Secretary, started posting about the achievements of white working class children in schools. And you just sort of think to yourself, you don't really care about these sorts of people. You're talking about it now because white working class people are up in arms about all sorts of things. They're putting flags up on lampposts and all sorts of things. And you think, oh, we have to be nice to these people. But for decades now, Labour has, as as you've said, removed itself from being the party of the working man.
Absolutely.
It doesn't care about working class communities, urban communities, industrial communities in the North and the Midlands. It doesn't care about farmers, the last sort of major sort of cohort of working people in this country. It is the party of the metropolitan elite even more than the Conservatives are.
Couldn't agree more. We might as well talk about it before we do the light-hearted stuff. 71% of the United Kingdom has no trust in Keir Starmer's migration. I tried to sort of make sense of the other 29% by realising that only 30%-ish voted for Starmer, which means that only about 9% think he's doing a good job, which in fact could be trade unionists, loony lefties and people who have come into this country. But I mean, he really is in trouble. There are protests up and down this country. There's asylum hotels have been told today to house criminals, foreign criminals. We know latest figures showing that foreign criminals are committing more sex crimes than other groups. But all in all, this is a powder keg. And I'm interested in where... I've no time for the far right or the far left. You should be able to protest. But there is a feeling, I think, that this country... Precipice may be the wrong word, but I think people are at the end of their tether. They feel that they've perhaps lived their lives correctly and are being punished. Where do you see this ending, B?
I don't see... Lots of people will talk about civil disobedience. They'll talk about civil war, the particularly hysterical people. That's not going to happen because there aren't sort of clearly defined groups or objectives yet. It is, as you say, people who are just broadly fed up and simply want to assert the fact that they are fed up. There isn't a general election on the horizon, so it doesn't look as if there's going to be a collapse of this government or a new government's going to come in anytime soon. If this government had any shame, I think it would consider that, but it understands once they're out, they're probably out for a generation or more. It's difficult, therefore, to see actually how this improves because Keir Starmer seems very oblivious to what's going on, and a lot of his MPs, I think, are fairly oblivious to the depth of feeling or what is motivating people in this country. I genuinely think that they believe that if they just hold on a little bit longer until the economy improves, if it improves, that suddenly things will be tickety-boo and that people will just start to forget about all of this. I genuinely think they live in a bubble. I think... Starmer touched on something with his Island of Strangers speech, although he didn't write it himself, and the clue was right there. A couple of weeks later, he said he regretted making that speech. He doesn't actually understand what's going on.
Interesting, you said that there are fears within the Labour Party that if they, from the next election, they'll be out for a generation. I think it would be fair to say that the Tories are in the same boat, and that would explain why at this moment, yes, we need meat on the bone, Nigel Farage is riding high, because, love him or loathe him, he's speaking about the things that seem to generate the most concern amongst the British people. And that's what politics is about, isn't it?
I still think that a lot of it is simply motivated by protest. It's not simply that they think Nigel Farage is a great ideological, he's got a great vision and all that sort of thing. I think people are still just mainly fed up. And I'm already slightly apprehensive about the direction that reform is going to go to. What I'll say is, first and foremost, it's remarkable now that a mainstream party, the leading party, we have to say reform is now mainstream, the leading party in this country, is advocating for what is effectively a process of mass deportation of illegal migrants. That would have been considered unthinkable even at the start of the year. People have gone, you're mad, it'll never happen. But the way that they are framing it, talking about leaving the ECHR, talking about these sort of huge unilateral things, they are asking for trouble with this sort of thing. They're not being practical. Leaving the ECHR is a giant trap. It's a giant legal trap that you don't have to do. Lots of other countries are party to the ECHR, and they just deport people and they deal with the legality of it afterwards. If you decide to do that, you rip up the Good Friday Agreement, you rip up our Brexit agreement, you have to restart all of those negotiations. You don't need to leave the ECHR. You can alter the Human Rights Act, and because Parliament is sovereign over the ECHR, you just pass new legislation saying this is what we're going to do. If Farage decides to pick this fight, then he's a fool. He's on a hiding to nothing.
Interesting. B, I really appreciate on a bank holiday. No grouse shooting today then or anything like that?
No, not the season.
Good man. Lovely to have you on. Lord Benedict of Spenceton there on Talk Drive, 20 to 6.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Then, because he wasn't here today, he was having bank holiday. He's back tomorrow, is he? He's not going to overdo it, is he, by coming back? Honest to God, I don't know. Where's the commitment nowadays? First bank holiday I've worked in years. 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. Just a quick reminder, big announcement from Mike and I this week. That's all I'm going to say. Big announcement, 0344 499 1000 to the phone lines. We're going to Coventry. Great start to the season for Coventry City under Frank Lampard. Not that David gives a toss, do you?
No.
Brilliant. 2 minutes on drive. What you got? Go.
Just a quickie. I need some advice. I used to be in the fire service. I did it for 33 years.
Hold on a second. I feel a miserable call. Have we got any miserable music? Have we got... Exactly.
That's what I need. Hold
on a second. Let me see if I can get some ambience, David. Just relax. Just. I know it's a difficult moment for you. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a call on the back of a rather sad story from NATO today. Anything, Dave, at all? Anything sad?
This is exactly. Nobody came to say goodbye.
They didn't.
Nobody at all.
How long?
I just walked out after 33 years. Now, either they didn't like me, which is possible, but what I'm concerned, what I need advice on is, if I now decide that this has caused me PTSD and all sorts of other mental anguish and illness, and I go out and start mugging little old ladies and robbing banks and beating people up, etc., can I claim... Do you think I'll get away with it with a judge if I claim that the cause was the fact that I didn't get people to say goodbye?
It's not for me to condone anything, but I would say that I feel very sorry for you having to go through the trauma of 33 years, and maybe you should be buoyed by the fact that we now live in a country where some disgusting human being the other day, yes, he was an illegal migrant, I'm saying that only because it's a fact, sexually assaulted a girl on Bournemouth Beach, and when in court the facts were laid before the judge, this was the one that sent me through the roof, the guy said he had a bad upbringing, it was a mere aberration, and that he could stay in this country because, you know, he'd learned so much more about himself. Sod the victim. We live in a mad, mad world. If you're tuning in, you're thinking Dave in Coventry's a joke. He's not. He's responding to a story that a military defence worker at NATO headquarters, James Isles, shame. This man is suing NATO and the MOD. He's got PTSD, depression, anxiety and paranoia because after 11 years he left work, nobody gave him a good luck card. Maybe David in Coventry, he was just crap at his job.
Could be. What we actually need to do is have a cull of lunatic lefty judges. We really, my wife just stepped on the paving slab I've just laid.
Get off the paving slab. The concrete hasn't... God, honestly, do you know what I mean?
To be fair, I normally put a big X or a big O on the paving slabs to mark that they're the ones you don't walk on.
If you put an X or an O on a paving slab, I'd end up playing that. What's that? Noughts and crosses. Thanks for your call. 03... Well, nice. What did you say, Ryan? I can't hear when I'm talking to people. Not now, Ryan! I'm joking. That's just an impression of somebody very close to all of our hearts. 0344 499 1000. On the way next, your sports messages and stories. And honestly, do you know what's going to happen? Right, Sean Custer's going to come back in here and all he's going to talk about is bloody Newcastle again. If he mentions the worst team in the Premiership, don't even look at me like that, Custis. I don't want to talk about West Ham at all. It's an embarrassment. It's a miserable, miserable existence right now. Back in 3, tar.
What is that saying about Britain to the rest of the world, to the global community? What is it saying about what our benchmark is? You know, we're almost saying we don't have high standards anymore for all students up and down the country. And I think it's got to go in tow with, you know, it's one thing scrapping the compulsory research, but if all you're doing is a white paper inquiry, some curriculum tweaks, not allowing schools to really dig deep, going all the way back to primary, all the way through to secondaries.
When this first started in Epping, is that if they closed that hotel, this was policy collapse. Because it was kind of the lightning rod. This was one hotel and it has now spread. And unfortunately, the government is without a clue. And how they will push forward, we were just saying that we've got to have to hope that they've got these new centres going. But the amount that they're going to have to build and kind of renovate to get going is nowhere near ready. This is one of the reasons I think that they're really hoping to kind of drag out a legal case. But honestly, I do not know what they're going to do.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
10 to 5, let's do this properly for once. Could you please, David, without leaving a gap? There's no... Oh, right, could somebody push the stab now?
Sports news from The Sun.
Honestly, mind the gap. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, ladies, gentlemen. We are delighted to welcome, what can you say about Sean Custis, head of sport at The Sun, who has got 2 minutes to literally rip a second backside in me.
Also nice to see you working on bank holiday. I didn't think people of your esteem worked on bank holidays, Jeremy. But anyway...
I came in because I knew I was going to get this.
This is excellent news because we can ask whether you've recovered from Friday night after West Ham got an absolute tonking, terrible start of the season, thumped by Chelsea. I know we're going back a bit, but I'd just like your view.
I thought when Paqueta, whatever you want to call him, scored that goal, I thought, here we go. I have never seen a more disconnected team from back to front. I've always been a Graham Potter fan. God knows. Yeah, I thought he did a great job at Brighton. I thought he wasn't given enough time at Chelsea. Mm-hmm. I was reasonably happy that he came. There is absolutely no connection. I was embarrassed. Talk about being overrun. And all you ever hear about is we need to buy this, we need to buy that. What about gelling a team and drilling them in how to defend, how to press, how to move the ball forward, how to use your wing-backs? There is not one player, apart from that kid he's bought on the left, whose name, the young Diouf, yeah, you're right. So unimpressed. I mean, if I was... This is how bad it is. If I was Jarrard Bowen, I'd want to go before the... do you know, if I was Newcastle or somebody who's looking for players, honestly, an embarrassment. And with what's going on at Forest, I'd take Nuno Espirito, whatever his name is, in a heartbeat. Massively disappointed. And what really disappointed me as a football fan, I'm watching, and he is stood on the touchline just looking at the floor, Potter. There was no goading, pushing, just nothing. And I fear they're in a right hole. Seriously, genuinely. There you are.
Indeed. Arsenal,
what did you think?
I thought they were really poor. I mean, dreadful. And I don't really understand the Potter plan, and I don't really understand why people say he's a project manager. He gets all this time to work on it, and it'll be all right in a year's time. You haven't got a year's time. You need to sort it out now.
I'll give you a clue. I'll give you a Jeremy Kyle outsider. If Nuno Espirito Santos leaves Nottingham Forest, he'll go to West Ham, and who do you think I think will go to Forest? Don't laugh at me.
No?
Jose Mourinho.
Oh,
yes!
Jose, that's a bit low level for Jose, isn't it?
Is it with Mark Lucullus, whatever his name is?
Yeah, well, you never know. It's possible, I suppose. Anyway,
yes,
a more buoyant side of Arsenal, apart from the fact that Saka was injured at the weekend and could be out for about a month. Odegaard maybe not so much, but in the meantime they're busy in the transfer market and they're in for that famous player Piero Hincapié.
I love the way you said that, Piero Hincapié.
This is where all the hipsters go, oh yes, I've studied Hincapié for many a year and he's a good centre-half. I honestly don't really know.
Bayer Leverkusen,
52 million. It's not your 100 million. It's always one of those fees
they
now
bought
where you
well,
say...
haven't they, Arsenal? They bought well.
Yeah, but Arteta has now spent £1 billion since he took over as manager.
At the risk of being, forget West Ham, at the risk of, this is just me talking football to a mate, he has to win a trophy this season. Otherwise, I think he's really under pressure.
Yeah, there's a lot of managers under a lot of pressure, and also to get Hincapié in, he's got to get Kiwior out, who has not been a raging success
No.
at Arsenal. Looks like he could be heading to Porto for 20 million. Meantime, your favourite other team, Newcastle, have bid 50 million for Jurgen Strand-Larsen.
This is the Wolves centre. He'll want to come, won't he? He'll want to come.
Yeah, but that is not enough to say that Alexander Isak can go, because we want 2 strikers in. Now,
Wissa and Larson.
Wissa is the other one who obviously has been on Newcastle's radar, but Brentford are really digging in today. Keith Alexander, their new manager, is saying no, he'll still be here on Tuesday. Keith Andrews. Crew
Alexander.
He's digging in and saying he'll still be here.
What I loved last week was when, Newcastle's my second team, were going, Alexander Isak, put him in the reserves, absolutely disgraceful, he's got a contract, refusing to train, how unprofessional is that? That's what's happening with Wissa at Brentford, but he's back with the team. It's going to be really interesting. And, of course, Newcastle, Liverpool tonight. Now,
spicy.
I think look. I think this is tailor-made for Newcastle. Strangely, backs against the wall. Isak, the Geordie faithful, to get a result. Strangely, I've thought it from the first day I saw it with all the.
Oh
Isak
yeah, victory is ours. Definitely.
Do you think so tonight?
I think everybody's so hyped up for it. Fans, all my mates who are going, everybody, they really.
Big
really
Rob
believe
says
we
to
can
me
win.
it'll be an absolute game tonight.
I think, but Newcastle Liverpool games traditionally are, aren't they? You can go back many years to the 4-3s and that. They're usually humdingers.
What does Eddie Howe do from here? Because in public he's saying he can still be reintegrated. Privately he's probably seething. He's into the new season. He doesn't know what's happening.
But once you get to, if you did get to September the 1st and he's still there, what's he going to do? I mean, what's he going to sit on his hands? Is he going to play in the reserves? He's going to say, well, actually, I'd like to play, and maybe hold out until January. They'll be fine. Footballers, they'll be.
I don't know why they don't
be over it in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Why would you not want him back in the team so you can start winning games? And then maybe you say, well, let's see what happens in January when we have the next transfer window. See how you.
Are you here tomorrow?
Possibly. I'm definitely in the building.
He just decides.
I might be, or it might be Mike Anstead.
All right, okay. Let's have a prediction. Make a note of this. Sean Custis, head of sport at the Sun.
2-0.
2-0 to Newcastle.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got 1-1 as a draw.
The only thing is we haven't really got.
If you were playing West Ham, I'd have 7-0.
That's the problem. If we had a striker, it'd be more than 2-0. But I'm banking on sort of the sheer euphoria of St James's Park carrying us over the line to get a 2-0 win. Got to watch out for that Mo Salah fella though, because he's a bit.
Can we give a shout out, by the way, to this kid that Jamie Redknapp says the Arsenal kid Max Dowman is the best thing he's ever seen play. He's 15 years of age.
Well, we've had a few 15-year-olds over the years, and he certainly looks like he's got what it takes. When he went down in the box against Leeds United, I think there were people think, oh, hang on, was that a dive? But he was touched, and he did take on the defender, and he did look the business, and the defender was backing off and didn't know what to do with him. So, pretty impressive so far. And look, he's going to be in the squad to face Liverpool at the weekend as well, because they've got injury doubts, and he looks like a kid who is not scared.
Talking about teenagers who then went on to monumental careers, I've got different views on this. I don't like Manchester United.
No, you told me this.
Ruben Amorim, 28 points from 29 games.
games.
But how bloody rich is it for Wayne Rooney to say he's running out of excuses? One of the greatest strikers who should just have stayed there, who has failed at every managerial job with the respect that he's gone to. It's a bit rich, isn't it?
No, but I mean, Wayne Rooney is entitled to talk about what Man United can and can't do. Surely he's one of the,
I'm not sticking up for
one of the
Amorim,
greatest players. He can have an opinion.
Oh, yeah, he can.
Well, okay, he can have an opinion. Say he's running out of excuses.
Bit hypocritical, isn't it?
Well, what's he supposed to say? Somebody asks, "What's your opinion of Amorim?" What is he? What's he going to say?
We should do a telly show. We'd be bitching the whole time.
Wayne Rooney. Actually, when he talks football, I think he's a good pundit. And
he was criticised the other day on Match of the Day. I didn't see his debut. Was it all right? Was he a little bit nervous or something?
A little bit nervous, but actually, when he gets into the flow, he's pretty good when he's a pundit.
Do you think Amorim's excuses are running out?
I think it's difficult for him at the moment. I think it's a bloke who came with a great track record, with a lot of fanfare behind him, and he's not lived up to the hype. And eventually somebody's going to say, excuse me, when are you going to start producing?
Yeah.
And, from say, but I've seen that they're playing much better now.
He spent 200 million as well. I give Wayne Rooney that, absolutely.
And we keep saying they're improving, they look better, there's a confidence about them. Well, personally, you can't tell so far. 1 point from two 2 games, and there's nothing to suggest it's any better.
I'd love 1 point from 2 games.
Yeah, and also he must be pretty disappointed in Sesko so far.
Wayne Rooney made a really good point actually. He said
good.
that Sesko didn't look fit.
No, he doesn't look fit.
How the hell does that
so
work?
now everybody says
73 million
he's got to get fit. You know, you've got to give him time to get fit. So he gets to play against Grimsby in the Carabao Cup this week. Say, give him 90 minutes against Grimsby.
It's a bit disrespectful to Grimsby, isn't it?
Give him 90 minutes against Grimsby.
Have you been to Grimsby?
I have. I've been to Blundell Park. I've been to Blundell Park. It's interesting. I haven't been for some years, but I'm sure they're going to give them a hot reception, those at Grimsby. Great fish and chips at Grimsby.
The best fish and chips. Just look where it is on the map of Great Britain, though. Ruben Amorim, Wayne Rooney. This, of course, he's entitled to his opinion.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, you know. But yeah, you're thinking about what you're saying. You're right. Arsenal in for Piero Hincapié from Bayer Leverkusen. You know that amazing centre-back, 52 million. The big game tonight, Newcastle at St James's Park. It will be rocking against Liverpool, live and exclusive on talkSPORT. And Sean Custis, head of sport here at The Sun, says, and I quote, it will be a 2-0 victory for a team that hasn't got a striker.
Yeah.
I want it not to be just so I can rip it out of you.
But I might not be here tomorrow. We'll have to see.
This is how important it is. If they lose, he won't come and do the show. I faced you today, Custis.
You did. Well done for coming in on bank holiday and to take all the steam out.
Double money. I'm only joking. Sean Custis, thank you very much, Steve. More on The Sun this time tomorrow with sport. We're heading to the news at 6. More of your calls coming up. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Start your message with the word talk. News is next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Just to give you an idea of the trauma that goes on backstage before we move on with this slick programme, they bring me every night on this show at 7:15. We do what's in the newspapers, usually with Sarge. I don't know who's done this today, but it's not the big font and I can't read. Could we get the... I'm sorry, I can't read it. Is that Dave again? No. Jodie, is that you? Why have you done that? You know I like things big. Sorry? What did you just say? Don't worry, Jez. As usual, I'll make it bigger. 3 minutes past 6, we are here. I don't even know who's on at 7. Who is on at 7? Ah, Mike Dolan is on. What a legend. Kev's still on holiday. I heard that Kev O'Sullivan took £8.5 to get to Cornwall. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. If you'd like to make a... I mean, you can talk about what you want. You can talk about migration. You can talk about three pads. Rayner, the Minister for Housing, herself and nobody else. She's now got 3 properties arranged, done quite well. Spends too much time in Ethiopia. You might want to talk about how Gen Z are all traumatised and don't want to work from home anymore because they've got no friends and they feel disorientated socially. And entitled in every other way. Go to work, you lazy gits. And also you might want to have a comment on the worker suing the MOD. The MOD, NATO, because James Isles, and I say this, is genuinely true if you're just tuning in. James Isles worked for NATO at their headquarters for 11 years. He's now suffering from PTSD, depression, anxiety and paranoia. Now, I would have suggested if somebody in NATO is suffering from PTSD, maybe a bomb went off. Maybe... No, nothing. No. If just tuning in. He didn't get sent a leaving card by his colleagues and he's suing... Don't even go there. He's suing because apparently this has had such a traumatic effect on his life. It's 6:05. Now, on a bank holiday Monday, you call in the big guns. A woman who is fast becoming the voice of the people, but rather worryingly has a dog that seems to eat breakfast cereal. Good afternoon, good evening, bonjour, Chloe Dobs.
Hola.
Brilliant. The dog, can we just talk about this online? All I ever see is videos online. What's your dog? I mean, it seems you live with the dog and the dog seems to eat cereal. What's going on?
He likes to jump up on the kitchen counters and steal...
We all like that, but I'm 60 now.
Any food that he can find. And
you're not feeding him correctly. What's the matter with you?
I am, but he's very hungry and he ate an entire packet of flax seeds.
But see, that's the other thing. I mean, if I was a dog, I don't mean to be rude, I'd want shreddies or sugar puffs, flax seeds. I mean, that just goes straight through.
There weren't any shreddies on the countertops, so that was all he could find.
You're not into rice cakes and all that rubbish, are you?
I quite like the dark chocolate-covered ones at Itsu, but not plain ones. They're boring.
At Itsu? Give me a burger. Chloe Dobbs, welcome. Let's start with the million-dollar question. 71% of people in the United Kingdom say that Keir Starmer's approach and handling to the small boats crisis and migration in its entirety is unacceptable. I believe that asks a more important question, which is, who the hell are the 29% that think this is going all right, mate?
That's exactly what I thought. I was surprised it wasn't higher. I mean, who on earth thinks that he is smashing the gangs, so to speak? I mean, the numbers are crazy. We've had over 50,000 people arrive since Labour came into power. Yeah. But I guess there are maybe some idiots who heard him say, I'm smashing the gangs. And
she's doing it now. But you see, the thing is, I worked this out earlier. I know I'm old and I cause great amusement in this place just by people looking at me. But he was voted in with 34%, wasn't he, of Great Britain?
Something like that.
29% of 34% of the United Kingdom is 9% of the United Kingdom. So that's 1 in 10 people think he's doing a good job. That's probably nearer the mark, because 70% of this country didn't vote for him.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the interesting parts of this study is that, although it's 71% overall of the people that they looked at, 56% of Labour voters said that he's doing a bad job on immigration. So
what do they want, though? They're all soft. They want him to let more in, do they?
Some people do. Some people who live in a bubble and don't have a migrant hotel in their community think that it's all, you know, multiculturalism is our strength and it's all happy days and it's just horrible racist bigots who have a problem with it.
Well, I want to ask you about this because today we find out that, you know, asylum hotels have been told to house foreign criminals. They released some figures this morning which verified what Baroness Casey said, which was that sex crimes by foreign nationals have surged. I'm not going to ask your age, but obviously you're a lot younger than me. I watch you online, I work with you, I think you're fantastic. I've said it before. 5 years ago, you couldn't have even used the word immigration. Nigel Farage and Reform are beginning to talk, Trumpet's language, about deportations. All of us that I say are talking common sense are responding to people in this country who don't feel that they're being given a fair crack of the whip. Those people think we talk sense, but other people give us, I mean, I don't give a toss, call us every name under the sun. How does that affect you? What do you think? Do you think that we are at a point where that's ever going to change? Or do you think that, I mean, you obviously believe, as I do, in what you're saying. Does it deter you, the criticism?
No, it doesn't. I think the vast majority of criticism you get is people who aren't making a good argument. They're just calling you a silly name. And that, to me, is just lazy and shows that they don't have a good argument. If the best that they can do is call me a racist rather than actually come up with a nuanced argument that genuinely finds the holes in my argument. I have had great debates, as we do doing this job, with people on the left who actually, some of them have thought through their opinions. I'm not saying that they're right, but you can actually learn something from them. And that's really interesting, and I love doing that. And you can't live in an echo chamber. But for me, what's frustrating is I love to debate people who I disagree with, but I find it harder and harder to find people who disagree with me who are actually willing to have a proper debate.
Why do you think that is, then? Why do you think that is?
I think social media doesn't help. People have got used to, on social media, they can make an account where it's always the ones that they don't have a profile picture, or it's...
Does it bother you if somebody calls you? I mean, I'd tell this story. I won't name him. I wouldn't. A very famous television presenter came for dinner with me one day when I was working in Manchester. And I didn't do social media. I didn't do it until I started at Talk. Obviously. It just doesn't resonate with me. I mean, what did my wife once say to me? The lovers love and the haters hate. Anyway, he did this post. I'll never forget it. Sat in Manchester at the blah blah hotel, Malmaison, having dinner with Jeremy Kyle, and then started to get more and more agitated. He's a tosser, you're a tosser, blah blah blah. And I said, well, two things. Why did you post it if you can't handle the criticism? Why do people take it on board? Those are keyboard warriors who haven't got the balls to stand up to anybody. I wouldn't be giving them the time of day. I'd want to be able to answer the people that I respect and the people... You're right. I'm quite happy to stand face to face with somebody who I would spend my life disagreeing with and have a debate. But what happens is, as you quite rightly say, is a lot of the do-gooders... I'll give you an example. I'm not going to name the person, but... Quite right, women's rights. I completely have always supported that. And yet, when Isla Bryson, who raped 2 women, was about to put a wig on and a dress and I want to go into a female prison in Scotland,
bonkers. Not
a word from these people about the threat to women in that prison, and I don't understand. It's hypocrisy.
I know, it is massive hypocrisy, and there is a big problem of a cognitive bias. People will only focus on the stories and care about and read into the stories that fit their narrative. This went massively against their narrative that, we need to be super kind and inclusive of trans people.
Super kind. I hate that word, super kind. Why? What is... I don't want to be giving... Mike and I talk about this the whole time. I don't care who you are or what you are. I don't care your opinion. But you said something that I think is really important. People won't discuss this. Those people who disagree with, let's deport these people. Let's make sure these people are not a threat to, the safety and security of young women, for example, as in Epping, as a good example. They won't have the debate. You don't know what you're talking about. These poor people are escaping persecution. What, from France? Get a grip. You're talking rubbish.
Well, I think that a lot of the nuance isn't recognised in the debate. I've been and did a documentary on this, so I understand, for example, that one reason why they might be coming from France is because if they claim asylum in France and they're in the EU, they can be sent back to the first EU country they came into. And you speak to some of them who came into somewhere like Bulgaria first, and they'll say, we were beaten up by the police in Bulgaria. We had a horrible time.
Not in England, though. You get a 4-star hotel, that's half the problem.
We're terrified of being sent back there, right? So it is more complicated than, France is a safe country, but... We are.
I would have the same rules as France. Why are we so soft then? That's the point, isn't it?
Well, first of all, we're not part of the fingerprint system with the EU where we can send them back to the same place. But Keir Starmer's policy of we're going to swap 50 migrants a week, I mean, it's just all garbage when we're not getting the basics right, which is don't offer them 4-star hotels with 3 lovely buffets a day. Meanwhile, the taxpayers that are paying for it are counting the pennies together to buy their chicken nuggets and frozen peas from Asda.
Or frozen nuggets and chicken peas.
I don't know if you can buy chicken peas, but if that's
what
you like,
but it was quite funny. Chickpeas is what I was trying to say. Just messed it up.
They're not getting the basics right, and it's creating a huge amount of resentment when you've got people paying for this.
When you look at Epping and you look at
not as well off.
When you look at the process over the weekend and you look at Epping and there seems to be a huge divide right now, and I'm with you. It would be good to be able to have a sort of balanced debate, but that doesn't happen. Where do you see this ending? Because nobody wants to see nobody wants to fear that there could be, clashes and whatever. But I think it's really difficult to put it into words, but I think a lot of normal, hard-working, tax-paying people who've probably never protested are at a point where they feel they will. That's where I think it's different at this moment.
Yeah, there's been a big shift over the past few years in that before the Reform Party, we always had this phenomenon of the silent Tory, right? People on the right generally keep to themselves and keep quiet about it, and so people think that that's a minority opinion, the views that they hold about immigration, tax or whatever else, when actually it is the majority opinion. But slowly but surely those people, they've got so fed up and felt so disenfranchised and not listened to by even their party, the Tories, that they have decided we are going to speak up. And you get safety in numbers, right? People are seeing, oh, there are lots of other people going to this protest, there are lots of other people speaking online now, I might have a go. But there are still so many people who are terrified that they're going to lose their job if they say anything online about their opinions or they go to a protest. But if they go to...
I think it's great to have been cancelled and then not give a toss.
If they go to a BLM protest or Just Stop Oil or put left-wing views online, they don't get fired from their job, right? It's interesting how if you have some sort of right-wing view, I mean, there was you heard about the...
I call it common sense. That's why Mikey, to me, got it right all those years ago. I have no time for the far right. I've got no time for the far left. I've got no time for apologists who make more excuses than anybody else. I think it's about common sense and what works, and stuff is not working in this country. That doesn't mean it's racist, it's not unfair, it's factual. Baroness Casey was factual. Let's just deal with facts. The facts are we are allowing too many people who we do not vet into this country, and really importantly, right now it is to the detriment of people who have paid all their lives because we are skint. That is it. Australia stood up and was counted, and even the new Labour Prime Minister, Albanese, whatever he is, right? He kept going with the policy that they had, which is said, we can't afford, I'm afraid, any more of you. We have to concentrate on our own people, and that might be seen in the wrong way, but I think it's going to happen here. I really do think it's going to happen here.
Yeah, and it is common sense. I mean, it's absolutely bonkers that thinking that a country should have a border is considered some sort of far-right opinion. And you need the establishment and the politicians to recognise that it is common sense. Nigel Farage, the Reform Party, they are recognising that it's common sense, but the main parties are simply not doing it, right? We're all far-right thugs. And Keir Starmer, he can put out some videos and whatnot saying, oh yeah, we're getting serious about illegal migration now, and there was the whole island of strange species. But nobody believes him. Everyone knows that it's completely disingenuous.
Did you hear what somebody said to me earlier, whose friend works, James Price told me that his mate runs in one of those big focus groups, runs the biggest one. The very mention of Starmer's name just sends the whole thing rocketing. It's that bad. Now, I'd like to ask you, I'd like to move from migration to another main news story. And what I'd like to start with is, I want to take you back to January. Trevor Phillips does a show on a Sunday morning on Sky. He interviewed the now Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, who's in charge of housing. This is what our Ange said in January.
There's plenty of housing in the UK, but the houses, especially
hang on. You can't, on the one hand, say we've got to build this 1.5 million houses and then say there's plenty of housing already.
There is plenty of housing, Trevor, already, but there's not enough for the people that desperately need it. So the homes, especially under our affordable homes programme, which is social and affordable housing, they will be there for people who desperately need them, local people.
Local people. OK. So 3 pads Rayner, or as Mike brilliantly announced this morning, the Minister for Homing, or even housing herself, but nobody else, now has 3 homes, Angela. We've got the constituency home somewhere north of Watford Gap, right? We've also now got a Grace and Favour place under Admiralty Arch. She spent £800,000 on a seafront pad in Hove, very upmarket. There was some very unedifying pictures of her over the weekend with what looked like tattoo, vape, bottle of Whispering Angel, could have been Lee Frau Milch, I've no idea. Some ginger bloke who's got brown arms and a very pale torso. I don't know whether it's the ex-MP lover. And then she's, throwing back the booze if you're just tuning in. Lots of questions. 800,000, massive, but what an absolute, I nearly used the wrong word, what a bleeding hypocrite. This government is destroying aspiration. It talks about how, people in London shouldn't have second homes. How does that look, the hypocritical old bag, eh?
I know. I mean, is she an idiot or something?
Yes.
I mean, after the whole Lord Ali saga last year, you would have thought that they would have been making sure nobody does anything that's going to get them in some sort of stupid sleaze scandal. Then we had very recently the homelessness minister having to resign after evicting her own tenants. And then we've got the housing minister whose department is trying to crack down on evil second homeowners, buying not her second, but her third home. And the defence that has come out in the papers today is just absolutely
Who's
laughable.
defended her?
It
The Guardian?
It just says Labour sources close to Angela Rayner, so we don't know exactly who it is.
That's her own department
There are two defences. Tell me what you think of these. So first of all, apparently she is actually appropriately paying the correct council tax on her new pad, so it's all fine.
How does she get the mortgage? You can only get 4.5% against what you earn. She would have to earn £200,000 a year to afford that, unless she put a sizable amount in. Where'd she get the sizable amount? Lord Ali?
Maybe her husband's a rich man.
She hasn't got a husband.
I can't.
She was seeing that Labour MP got deselected. He's got ginger hair. Was it him in the boat? I've no idea.
Maybe the ginger guy's got a big wad of cash. But the other defence they've given is she needs this pad as a base for while she's working in London. Who needs a base by the seaside?
She's got a Grace and Favour apartment under Admiralty Bleak Arch.
Yeah, she's right by Buckingham Palace. She doesn't even have to commute. She's right on Whitehall.
On a serious note, I said it earlier, and I know you will agree with this. You know, I spent a lot of time in Newcastle, right? Somebody said to me some weeks ago, you know, Labour, the Labour Party, it was about labourers. It was about, they are so... This is... Because I said it earlier, I sort of quite respected that a woman from a council estate who'd been a mother at 16 had got to that position. She's completely and utterly defrauded, I think, that very base that would go, that's inspirational, that's aspirational even, because she's just succumbed like they all do for the trappings of the job.
Yeah, I mean, the grassroots of the Labour Party love her, or at least used to love her. You know, they elected her as the deputy Prime Minister, and they like the fact that she's, you know, I say a council estate lass with a working class accent.
Not anymore.
But not anymore. She is living the proper champagne.
She might be living the champagne lifestyle, but I think when you see the tattoo and the vape and the Leafrow mill, you probably get an idea. Now, from that to two very sad stories, I'd like to get rid of the smile on your face and be a little bit sympathetic, Chloe Dobbs. You're going to have to learn this as your broadcasting continues. Remote working, once considered by your generation, Gen Z, an important part, because so many of them, if they worked 5 days a week, would really suffer with the trauma and the expectation of working. They're now coming back to work, 40% of them, between 16 and 24, because they feel isolated at home. They feel that being on their own, the reality is that they're now feeling lonely, and that's also triggering anxiety. So they're anxious when they go to work. They're anxious when they don't bloody well go to work. We just went to bloody work. What is wrong with these entitled, soft little... What's wrong with them?
I mean, they are very soft, and they will complain about everything and say everything gives them anxiety. But I do think that there is a little bit of truth to this, because when working from home first came about during COVID, everyone thought that this is...
Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays, -S. Spell it out. Yeah, that's what they are. Go to work. I did 7 days a week. I don't understand it. They're soft, mate. I know about COVID and all that, but really?
They are... So I work from home most of the time because I'm self-employed.
Soft. You're not soft.
I'm not soft.
You starve your dog and you're as hard as nails.
I work 7 days a week, but I work from home. And I do find now that I like to come into studios because I get bored at home and I struggle to get the motivation.
And I'm not sure, actually, if you're not in an environment, not just because of the competitiveness, but talking to people. The water cooler, I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what that means. The water cooler, what the hell does that mean? But you know what I'm saying. I don't think it's healthy.
No, I think hybrid working is the way, because there are days, depending on what job you have, where you just need to crack down and work on a document and you don't need people interrupting you all the time in an open plan office. But other days when you want to, you know, socialise with your co-workers a bit and you want to bounce ideas off each other, you can't bounce ideas off each other over an email chain. Absolutely no way. What Steve Jobs did at Apple is he changed the position of the toilets in the office to be right in the centre so that people would bump into each other more, to bounce ideas off each other more.
That can't happen here,
because
Ryan got chatted up by a bloke on Saturday night. He'd be in right trouble if they did that, yeah. The other thing is, and I'd like from you, as I've had from every guest today, a degree of understanding. James Isles was a military defence worker at the NATO headquarters in Brussels who spent 11 years... Brilliant. James Isles worked at NATO, the headquarters in Brussels. This is a letter that I feel we have to read out on BBC Radio. Oh, no, wrong. As he left, because of the stresses of his job and 11 years to progress to a new career, he was treated in such an appalling way that he now writes to us and says that he has PTSD, depression, anxiety and paranoia. He's made a claim for harassment and those things against NATO, and a judge will hear the case very soon. His reason, ladies and gentlemen, is that he wasn't given a leaving card. Sorry, can you get rid of that? Honest to God.
Is that genuinely the reason?
I promise you,
That's insane.
He is suing NATO because when he left, he wasn't given a good luck card. James Owls was upset not to have his time on the base formally marked. An employment tribunal heard the accommodation store manager claimed he'd been targeted. He's now got because he's disabled.
Oh my God.
He's got PTSD, depression, anxiety and paranoia. Another colleague got a card and I didn't. Maybe you were just at your job. Maybe you've got no friend.
And this isn't somebody doing any job. This is somebody working at NATO, trying to stand up to dictators and whatnot.
I don't mean to be rude. If he'd gone, do you know what I mean? I was out in the field in my guise as a NATO worker,
being
shot at. This bomb or this shooting took place, and 3 of my colleagues were heavily injured. A couple were killed, and I have suffered traumatically, right? Like
then it
returning
would be
soldiers. No, he's literally stressed because he didn't get a leaving card, and I ain't making that up.
That's genuinely insane. And there was another lady, I think she worked at HMRC, who also decided to sue because she was on sick leave and her colleagues sent her a get well soon card, and she sued them because she had insisted, you are not allowed to contact me and disturb me whilst I'm on my sick leave.
I'm surprised that anybody from HMRC you can get hold of at all, to be honest with you, unless you want some money. We love having you on. Could you try and feed your dog a bit more?
I will.
Chloe Dobs works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. She is ultimately brilliant. She'll be back very soon. It's 6:25. We're very busy. Who's here at 7?
Mark.
You nearly got... I asked Dave, that's why it's behind the camera. Back in 3, I'm off for a wee.
The reality is that this country is built on the backs of those small businesses. Our entire economy is built on it. They fund the public services that everybody uses. And by taxing them to death, as we've seen by this Labour government, whether it be that national insurance increase, that jobs tax, we know what that's costing businesses. You've just heard a horrific example of that bill. The employment rights bill, or whatever Labour want to brand it, that's going to put more red tape on employers and make it even harder to create jobs. The reality of throwing people on the scrap heap, taking them out of work.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to this vain attempt at a radio/TV programme. It's 6:28. Not that you care, because it's a bank holiday Monday, and probably by now you're half battered, and I've been sat here. I did a dedicated shift, to be honest. Thanks for tuning in, because when you do, it gives me so much more time to work out what's coming next. 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. On the way, Sexy Sarge. This is John Lucas, the night news editor from The Sun, will be here with his stream of female fans. Oh, sorry, what's happened, Jodie? What are you saying? Oh, it's Will Barker now. John Lucas isn't available. I'm very upset. I only come in today to see John Lucas. Anyway, that's Jodie. Ladies and gentlemen, next is a young lady who has been, I have to say, in the background as a producer, and she did her first shift on Friday. You see her a lot on Plank of the Week and What Just Happened and everything else with Kev. Kev's her man. Ladies and gentlemen, Samara Gill's with us on Bank Holiday Monday. How are you?
Good, great to be here. This is where I'd want to be, even though it's, it's about 30 degrees outside.
I've had enough. I'm going to say the wrong thing. I've had enough of the sun living by the coast. All these people keep coming down with their children and lying on the beach. Do you not feel like summer's done now?
Yeah, I am a bit like, come on now, let's put the sun away. Let's turn the global warming down, as they say.
Oh God! Now listen, here's the one thing that I thought about you the very first day that we met, and I said this to MG. You are potentially more patriotic than a lot of people in this country, and you're an Aussie, which makes you not a sort of an adopted English person, right?
Yeah, that makes me a criminal that you kind of shipped off when
your parents or your grandparents.
My grandparents stole a loaf of bread, they shipped us off. I mean, it doesn't take much to see that Britain has fallen really far from where it once was. I mean, I was always coming here. I've been coming here for like 15 years, and I've noticed that it's completely changed. And I think that sometimes from the outside in, you can see more. But I know people are feeling it, like in their towns.
What about back in Australia? Because I mean, the interesting thing about, like, Starmer is interested in being a globalist, and Harry Cole was on from The Sun because he's now in DC, as we know.
Indeed.
And he was saying, what's really weird is you've got these politicians in this country who want to give away the Chagos Islands, and they pretend that they're important on the national stage, whilst all this crap's going on back home. And in fact, he said Americans are laughing at you. They don't understand your free speech rules. They don't understand why you're allowing so many migrants who shouldn't be there to be in your country. And what about Australia? What's the response to what seemingly is going on in this country?
I mean, Australia's gone down the woke rabbit hole very, very far. We've got a very similar Labor government. But the one thing that we did do differently was we did sort our illegal migration.
I was going to say Albanese kept that going, even though he was a Labour Prime Minister. He kept what's the other guy called? Oh, I interviewed him.
Scott Morrison.
No, before him.
Oh gosh, Australian politics is so boring. Honestly, I don't
him.
blame you for Tony Abbott.
That's it.
Yeah. He's a legend. He did actually solve illegal immigration.
But Albanese's kept that going quietly as a Labour Prime Minister, hasn't he?
Because he's realised that it works, and he's realised that communities are working much better when we're not sure if the immigration status of who's just moved in next door to us. We know that people who are in Australia are there legally, and that's actually helped this so-called community cohesion that we keep talking about a lot in the country. So I think it's
I remember when it happened, though, and they turned that vote away, Abbott, there was international outrage.
Oh, there was. It was like...
A friend of a friend's married to an Australian girl, appalled vegan. Honestly, appalling. I'm embarrassed by my homeland. But if your basis of what Tony Abbott was saying was, don't know where they're coming from, don't know, can't vet them.
No.
Australia right now, struggling health-wise, struggling education-wise, got to prioritise.
Yeah.
To me, that is common sense. There's nothing racist about that.
There is nothing racist about it, but there is something inherently horrible towards this country that we have had 50,000 crossings. Yeah. I mean, I was looking today, and we've had Martin Hewitt, who, I don't know if you remember him, he's this guy with the goofy glasses. Keir Starmer put him in place. He's actually our border czar. It's really funny
how... Oh, the one on 200 grand a year?
Yeah. It's hilarious how silent he is.
I've never heard of him, actually. I know that job. He's never spoken. Oh, have you heard from the border czar, Ryan? No, he hasn't.
Man's on more than the Prime Minister, okay? Yeah. And he's done absolutely nothing about it. We didn't have a border czar in Australia, but when we did turn the boats back, people were outraged. As you said, there were protests on the street. People were saying Tony Abbott is a human rights violator. It's the human rights thing just gets thrown sort of towards you again and again. But guess how long it took for the boats to stop?
A week.
Yeah, it did take a week. It was
that was
genuinely
a
week. No, it was a week.
How did they stop them? With the Navy?
They just turned them right back. They put them on processing centres offshore, and weirdly,
if Australia, this is another thing, please don't take this the wrong way, I love the bones of you, but if Australia, which is full basically of people who committed crime in this country, which you said, you just said, Australia did it, how many years ago now was that?
It's about 14 years ago.
Right,
yeah.
and we're still stuck, unable, unwilling, incapable of just like, let's do something correct here.
We're still paying for it. I mean, it's going to cost us £16 billion in the next 10 years, this crisis, and that's not to do with all the add-ons, that's just the base costs. So it's really, at the end of the day, a hip pocket nerve argument of, why are they raising taxes right now when we've got this issue here that we could get rid of, but we're not.
71% of the country says that Keir Starmer's not doing a very good job. The 29%. Asylum hotels told to house foreign criminals. Sex crimes by foreign nationals surge. Just to finish, before we move on to slightly lighter-hearted things, I don't think the British people, whatever their political persuasion, will accept any more bluff. I genuinely think we're reaching a point where they actually do want answers, and I don't think it matters the political party that's in power. I don't think they're going to be bluffed anymore. Don't you feel that in terms of out there? Do you not feel that something is happening?
I think everyone's feeling it at the moment. You can feel it as soon as you step out onto your high street, the effects of unfettered migration in this country. I mean, those migrant statistics, or those statistics about people who are not happy about Starmer, it was surprising because where is the 30%? I mean, who are the crazies?
I've been traumatised about this all afternoon. Where's the 29%? But then you've got to work this out. You any good at maths?
No, I'm terrible.
Right, so if 34% of the country voted for him, only 34%.
Yeah.
So that's about 25 million.
Protest vote, mostly.
Right. Of the 25 million, right, 71% don't want him. It means, I've done the maths, only about 9% of this country are interested in what he's doing. And probably most of that are unions and people who have come into this country in the last few years. I don't think anybody can be happy. I don't think it makes you, as I've said so much, I don't think it makes you racist or far right to have concerns about the safety of young women and young girls, about what's right for the older generation, about how I don't want to walk into my town 3 Saturdays on the bounce and see a veteran of 14 years on the streets. And if that makes me be called by the left every name under the sun, bring it on, because I'd be far more wanting to be able to look that veteran in his eyes, or my now dead granny in her eyes. Well, my mother's dead, everybody's dead, to be honest. But no, I'm being serious. And so that's where I'm at. It's not about being unfair. It's about prioritising what's right.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there. I think that's correct. And it's about a feeling. It's about an emotion. It's not even necessarily about a policy. I mean, forget policies. Keir Starmer's thrown any policy out of the window. And he's vilified his Muslim vote. He's vilified, he hasn't got much left, actually, as you said, to scrimmage towards. So he's in very murky waters politically. But it's not even, it actually means that you care if you don't want to fund these horrible, horrible human traffickers that are putting people across the border in the first place. I mean, this article that your beautiful producer gave to me, Jodie, Ryan, I was referencing Jodie there. Ryan's just giving me a death stare. Admitted to earning 400 grand this year from trafficking people across the border, and he even went and spoke to a journalist and said, yeah, it could be stopped, but we don't want to, but they don't want to. So that even the people smugglers like, stop me, here's a target on me, go for it. But they don't want to do it. And then the migrants go on TikTok and say, follow me as I did today. In the next 24 hours, follow me, 1 million people. I'm going to end up tomorrow night, he said, in his tent in France, in a 4-star hotel in the Crown Plaza. I select Heathrow, and he did. It's a joke. What a joke. Now, if the murky waters of politics are beginning to muddy for Keir Starmer and his future's not looking great, obviously coming up in the rearview mirror is our Ange, who spent a lot of time in Ethiopia, but now she's in now. This is, to me, such blatant hypocrisy. I mean, Mike called her this morning. This is Angela Rayner, ladies and gentlemen, who's got 3 homes now. The constituency home that she does
now have. The Grace and Favour house under Admiralty Arch, quite posh. And she just spent 800 grand on a seafront apartment in Hove. There's some very unedifying photographs of her in the sea. Tattoo, vape and whispering angel that could be Liebfrau. Oh, have a good drag. What flavour do you think that is? Oh, bloody curry flavour. Love it. Great.
It's probably like Tory's tears.
Yes, but this is a woman who talks about how we've got a housing problem, we need to build houses, but most of all fronted a campaign where, and I must take out for the Tories, they literally slagged off any Tories moving out of London, having 2 homes. 3 pads Rayner, or as Mike Graham calls it, Minister for Housing herself, I mean, just about sums up this shambles, doesn't it?
She's a hypocrite.
Yeah.
I'm all for a working class gal, you know,
She's
making it good in the world.
Image.
Yeah, well, exactly. Making it good in the world, working your way up, you know, making something for yourself. But she's a hypocrite. I mean, she introduced massive taxes on people who own second homes and then goes and buys her own 3rd place. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And people are so sick of this hypocrisy of the Labour government. I mean, we just had the homelessness minister evicting 4 people and then having to step down because of that, because she'd raised the rent by over £1,000 a month for the people who were living in her second home that she owned too. I mean, we're just sick of it. I mean, of course, if you're a capitalist, just own it, but don't tax the rest of us while you're at it. I think that's where the hypocrisy is. People aren't that upset about, you know, her rise.
I don't think anybody gives a damn if she's got 3 houses, but the hypocrisy smacks. So you have a choice. Final story. You've been very, very brilliant. Would you like to talk about Gen Z or the man from the MOD who's suing NATO?
Oh, why do you hate Gen Z? What's going on?
Gen Z,
your
remote
children are Gen
working.
Z.
Are you Gen Z?
I think yes, I would say so.
How old are you?
25.
Okay, 25.
25.
I could be a granddad. That's great. Remote working once
I feel 47 /
Well, imagine feeling 60,
well,
looking
yeah.
80. Remote working, once a Gen Z favourite, is leaving many feeling isolated. It's a Bupa survey that says that these poor people, many of them decided to work from home, are now traumatised. 40% of 16 to 24-year-olds, they feel socially disconnected due to the nature of their jobs, and it's causing them to really miss the traditional office settings. They're missing connection with people, the opportunity to be competitive. They're feeling lonely, and many of them are having to have time off through anxiety and depression and misery. What the God? Sorry, I'm going to swear. We had to walk up the bloody hill in the morning and do 14 or 16-hour days. What an entitled, soft bunch of... I can't, honestly. Really?
I think the issue with that, and even just that report in general, is it's always someone else's fault. It's always, you know, it's always... Well, I'm feeling depressed, so my work is going to have to bear the burden for it. I'm feeling this, so, you know, the government's going to have to pay me benefit to sit at home and just basically twiddle my thumbs on TikTok while the rest of the state pays for me to do that. I think it's the victim mentality, and I think it's... I don't want to go too deep into it because I've kind of written things about it, but the helicopter parenting and the 9th place medals have really fostered this generation of people who absolutely have no clue where they lie, and everything is someone else's fault. And I really do think for our future generation, I'm quite worried. I do worry.
Quite simply, the wisest 25-year-old I've ever spoken to. You'll see her on Plank of the Week again, I suspect, very soon, and back on this station. She's going to be a star. Thank you very much indeed. Samara Guild, posh name as well. 20 to 7, still to come. The Daily look at what's in the Sun tomorrow, but it's not with Sarge. Jodie is sobbing into her Kleenex. Who's doing it today? Who? Will Barker? Who? That's Showbiz, back in 3.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Back 17 minutes to 7, so in the Sun tomorrow we want to know, Sarge, honestly, who wants Sarge? We've got Will Bucker. Where is John Lucas, the night news editor?
So he and I were on today, and I thought I'd be quite a nice boss. It's bank holiday.
Sorry, hold on a second. You're his boss. He told us he was your boss.
No, absolutely.
So he's not the night news editor.
Well, he's sort of editing.
He's a charlatan who's using his programme to attract women to his seedy lifestyle. Will, thanks for coming. Lots of things tomorrow, but actually a really sad story that we had breaking about half an hour ago.
Unfortunately, I've got a bad one to start with, unfortunately.
3 people killed when a helicopter crashed during a taster session on the Isle of Wight today.
Yeah, so... I don't know if you're aware, if you've ever had one of these, but often people get them for birthday presents. But what appears to have been this company sell these sort of experiences where you can go up on a helicopter and pretend to fly it, and they've gone over to the Isle of Wight on a sort of bank holiday trip out, and gone up in the helicopter first thing. 3 people in there. It had gone up about 7 minutes into the flight. Hit some sort of technical malfunction, and it was 800 feet up in the air and then came down, and unfortunately police have just confirmed this afternoon in the last hour that 3 people are dead and 1 is very serious in hospital as well.
It's a horrible story, and no doubt people will have their opinions, but you just in those instances have to think about the families of the people that have lost. Our thoughts with them.
Absolutely.
Another big story tomorrow. Prince Andrew, it never goes away. His sex abuse accuser Virginia Giuffre will name names in her bombshell autobiography from Beyond the Grave. Lawyers were locked in a bitter 6-month legal fight over their inclusion in the explosive page of Nobody's Girl, but they are now set to be unmasked. A US source saying her account clearly depicts the beginnings of the abuse and names new names. Jeffrey Epstein. They're pointing this at Prince Andrew. There's a lot of people who will be quaking tonight.
Yes, I think so. So this has sort of followed to Matt Wilkinson had a great story yesterday from the publishing sources that they have now got to a point after lots of legal ins and outs to a point where they can publish this book. And in this book, we understand it, there are going to be names of American personalities, alive and dead. And it's taken them a long time to get there, but this is Virginia's account and they're ready to go with it. And publishers have told us that, in October, there's going to be some explosive stuff in there.
This will probably, I'm sort of followed this a bit. This will contain people that, they're all talking about Trump, and there's going to be some massive shocks in this.
I think so.
Certainly a story the Sun, and we will follow. Trigger warnings. I worry sometimes what trigger warning they do on this. Why does that say trigger warning? What does that mean? Is that a joke? It says trigger warning. Brilliant. OK, we spelled that wrong on the screen. Doc Martin is the latest TV classic to be hit with the farcical trigger warning. No, it's trigger warning. What's this all about? That's great, but it's not being made anymore. A miserable old Martin Clunes, is it?
Yeah. No, I think he's on ITVX, so you can go back and watch the old episodes of it.
I wouldn't bother.
And, no.
Not because of anything against Doc Martin. Just don't want to give ITV any money. Go on, crack on.
Well, no, exactly. So ITVX, I have been doing this thing. They're going back and going all over their old catalogue. So
the sedate ITV soap, which would be a really good way to describe it, right? Sedate.
It's not very much ever happens in it. You'd watch it with your granny on a Sunday afternoon, and you'd feel quite safe about that. But they're saying that, incredibly, in a programme involving a doctor, there might well be some medical procedures going on.
And this is because, I don't know if you know, one of the beautiful things about the programme was he actually had a fear of blood, and it was quite a sort of funny thing. They're also, I suspect, going to be saying it's not fair to laugh at somebody. They're going to say, honestly...
Probably. Yeah.
How old are you?
I am 50.
What do you make of all this?
Oh, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Like this show, there's going to be a trigger warning about talk. It's sort of...
Is there going to be a trigger warning?
Well, it may be. It's the trigger warning and everything.
But, that's why, and this is a very deep... To me, this is quite an interesting thing that I've never said before, right? Some people might not. This is why terrestrial television's on its arse. Because it's so worried. It's a bit like this government. I remember saying when Starmer was coming to power during the election, there are so many people he's invited into his tent that I suspect he will be hamstrung to be able to do anything because he's worried about, I'm going to upset them, I've got to upset them, I need to take something from them and they want something. That's what happens. And I feel like it's the same in broadcasting now. That you're so scared of losing your job that you don't do it. And so anything that is honest, say like this station, people will go, whoa, but this is no different than the Sun newspaper writes. This is no different from people on the street. And if you can't say, that's ludicrous.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, turn it off. There's a medical procedure. Oh, I don't know. The story. Did you not pick up on the story of the MOD worker today?
Oh yes, the card, the goodbye card.
He's got PTSD because he didn't get a leaving card. Maybe he was just crap at his job. Are you allowed to say that or not? Do you know what I mean? It's frightening.
Kick him out the door and don't buy me flowers.
Sprag, I can't say this. Spag Brawl. This is great. What is this?
Well, we've had some good fun. So you might be aware that the Beckham family are in a little bit of a problem.
Give us an exclusive. What is the reason? What do you think is the reason? Give us some.
Well, it all relates back to the wedding accordingly, doesn't it? This is what we understand.
Yeah.
Is that Brooklyn had his wedding.
Yeah.
And David and Victoria took too much of a kind of a role in that wedding and upset the Peltz family,
who are billionaires and don't need any of that sort of stuff in their life, presumably.
Exactly, yeah.
So the family feud has boiled over again. See what you've done here? Boiled over again today over pasta. Very clever.
So they're really at each other's throats, and it seems to be mainly around the kids, the two kids. So the two lads and Brooklyn on the other side, and so they're all away in Amalfi Coast, and they do a pasta making course. So they post a video about pasta. Minutes later, Brooklyn then posts, and it could be just coincidence, we could be reading too much into this, but within minutes of that, Brooklyn then puts up slightly toe-curling recipe show about how he makes spaghetti with tomatoes.
Could I respectfully suggest, and I like David Beckham, that half the problem with these kids is they don't do a job of work and they've got too much money and too much spare time, seriously.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a shame when you see what's happened. I mean, it's not for me to say I think she might be a nightmare. I'm sure there are lots of people who are nightmares, but I think David Beckham, even people who laugh at him, he's been so important in this country and done so much, and I think it's probably devastating for him right now, isn't it?
Oh no, it is. I mean, to have your kids fighting and but I mean, he just needs to grab them both by the neck and get them all together.
You can't do that. It'll upset people if you do that. Will, stop. Change the way you approach. Now, obviously, Jodie, I know you were upset Sarge didn't come in, but Will's the reason. And frankly, now I know that Sarge isn't important. We'll have Will every day. Look, she's devastated. Thank you so much indeed. Another man showing commitment on a bank holiday. Will Barker, The Sun tomorrow. So that horror crash, more on that tragedy on the Isle of Wight, helicopter crash killing 3 people. The Sun will talk about Virginia Giuffre's Who Will She Name? This book, From Beyond the Grave. There's been legal issues with this for 6 months. Doc Martin, the latest TV programme to get a trigger warning because it might show hospital procedures and that might cause you to have PTSD. And Spag Brawl, I can't even say it, Brawl. The Beckham kids arguing over tomato pasta. Life is so exciting. 9 minutes to 7.
look at the system, in one way it boils down to two very simple metrics. You've got to reduce the number of people who are coming in to apply for asylum. The inflow has got to be lessened, and the outflow of people being processed and, when they are refused, being returned to their country or another safe country has got to be increased.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
It's almost 5 to 7 on Bank Holiday Monday. The legend that is Mark Dolan is here from 7 o'clock. I don't know who he is. Who's here at 10? Petri dish. See? See what I did there? And, of course, Mike Graham, back. Morning Glory is back tomorrow morning. Couple of things. Big announcement about Mike and I. Wednesday, Thursday. And I'm on breakfast on Friday morning. You lucky people. Well, the good man takes a break for a while. 0344 499 1000. Charles Kemp, going to Blundell Park is not necessarily proof that your sports guest has been to Grimsby, because it's in Cleethorpes, says Charles. OK. Jane, what the hell is flaxseed, by the way? Chloe Dobs feeds her dog. Good old crispy bacon sarnie, yum. Comes to something when a trafficker says we could stop the boats tomorrow. This country's on its arse. Max is in Somerset. I am not willing... Mark Doolan's just walked in shorts. I don't think... Extraordinary.
I'm flirting with you.
God, I'm having a bad day. Max in Somerset. I'm not willing to accept any more tax increases in order to pay for illegal migrants to have access to lawyers, treats and beyond. Hurrah! Dan's in Kent. Jeremy, calm down. At least Rayner has passion. Could be a lot worse. Khan could be her replacement. I wish she'd just put the camera on what's going on right now. It's extra. How am I supposed to concentrate? Jodie is on her Phil's in Portsmouth. How can this NATO guy go to an employment tribunal? He wasn't employed. Interesting. Hello to Anne in North... do it now, the camera. Let's get the camera now. Can we just cut to the camera? Mark, smile. Where's Jodie? Oh, there we go. Good. Hands up, please. Anne M in North Lancashire. No, I can't even say it. Lanarkshire. Just wondering, are there any immigration hotels within half a mile of Rayner's new pad? It's 4 minutes to 7. Let's get the main man himself. You make shorts look smart. I once wore shorts into this office, and somebody said, and I quote, I've seen better legs hanging out of a nest. Whereupon I decided to put your phone on silent. Whereupon I decided never again to wear shorts.
Well, I think you're depriving the world, Jeremy, because you've got a pair of pins on you. I happen to know that. I've seen you papped on the beach, and Mrs. Kyle is a very lucky lady, is all I'm going to say.
The current Mrs. Kyle.
But no, I mean, the bottom line is that we are in a bank holiday mood. There are lots of problems in the country.
There are.
As we know, the migrant
I like
hotels.
the dedication of the presenters that turned up today.
It's not bad, is it? Shows effort. We're all part of the project, and what we're going to do is we're going to have some fun.
All right.
Rio Ferdinand
has gone to Dubai.
Another millionaire lost to this country. Why are the good and the great fleeing Britain? We're going to speak to a woman
because the government doesn't want them to be aspirational and make a success. They don't like that, but they do have 3 houses if they're Angela Rayner.
Yeah, well, that's it. We'll be talking about Angela Rayner, and we've got a very special booking. We've got Angela Rayner on the show. It's the interview they all wanted.
He's got Angela Rayner.
It's a world exclusive, and it's Angela Rayner with a twist at 8 p.m, and you'll have to tune in to find out why.
It's with a twist?
Angela Rayner, Deputy Prime Minister, and herself, the G Growler.
The what?
The GG.
I'm not sure you can say growler.
Do you know what's funny? Is I put the rude word in and I meant to swap it.
Why?
The Ginger G. Well, that was her nickname, wasn't it?
Well, the Ginger Growler.
Well, that's
I
both
don't
of us
even know
cancelled now.
I thought, no, listen, I can't be cancelled. I thought that was the badge on the top of a Jaguar.
Well, we'll allow you to believe that, Jeremy. I know you've had a sheltered life.
I have had a sheltered. No, Jodie. Before Mark continues, can I say honestly, guys, you've been utterly mediocre today and frankly you need to step your game up. No, you've been brilliant. Ryan, thank you for coming in. You had a traumatic experience on Saturday with a man in a bar. Still affected by the back of his neck being scrubbed. Jodie, you are a legend. I love you from the bottom of my heart. And Mark, buttons Mark, Dave even, I'm joking. Dave brought the biscuits in. He's the star of the day. A few gaps on his ability to push the button at the right time, but that's just his age. Thank you. And a variety of people pushing the button, including a lady who I just said you'd done a great job and I was told I was patronising, so now I don't know what the hell to say. MD, what you got?
I tell you what, this shows a well-oiled machine. The crisis within England's second royal family, the Beckhams, worsens. And further humiliation for David as his runaway son Brooklyn releases another cooking video, which is even worse than Meghan Markle's.
Did you hear what the
Love
Sun guy
Meghan.
said tomorrow in the paper? It was released 3 minutes, that video, after the two other boys released